Chapter 256. Senior Apprentice Brother is Right. Lin Yinshi smiled tenderly as she brushed away the hair that had fallen from her forehead. During this period of time, she didn't dare to take blood pills. Her white and flawless skin was starting to look a little pale and sallow. Even small wrinkles were starting to appear. She was not like Su Sun Air and Xia Chensi. They were real budding youths, but she was an old woman disguised as a young girl. Without the blood pill, she would soon reveal her true colors. The thought of becoming old and ugly made Lin Yinshi want to kill and drink blood. They made up their minds to go to the Corpse sect, so they began to discuss how to kill Gong Shifan and steal the spirit artifact. The two of them discussed happily, but they did not know that their every move was being watched by Yi Jioga and Gong Shifan. Master Gong, you must be careful. Don't fall into their trap, Yi Jioga warned worriedly. We already know what kind of conspiracy they are playing. If we fall for it again, wouldn't we be stupid? Gong Shifan laughed twice, not putting Lin Yinshi and Wang Haoqiang in his heart. Master Gong, the bloodthirsty sect has always been cunning. You should be careful. You could not help but advise him. He definitely had the right to speak on this matter. Yes, I will be careful. Gong Shifan quickly corrected his attitude. After all, bloodthirsty sect protective mountain formation was not so easy to deal with. If he was careless and fell for it, then his reputation would be ruined. In the blink of an eye, it was the day of departure. Gong Shifan and Yi Jioga led the spiritualists to the foot of Blood Cloud Peak. The red mist around the protective mountain formation was even thicker. Clumps of blood-colored clouds were densely packed together, giving off a buzzing sound. It was even more terrifying than before. Su Sun Air could not help but swallow her saliva, and her palms could not help but sweat. Xia Chensi could not stop trembling, and the other male spiritualists were not much better. Although they had already broken through the array formation once before, at that time, newborn calves were not afraid of tigers. They simply did not know how terrifying the mountain guarding array was. Now that they were prepared, they were a little afraid. Don't be afraid. Just follow the previous training. Yi Jioga saw that Su Sun Air was not confident, so he comforted her. Su Sun Air nodded. Over the past few days, Yi Jioga had proven himself with his strength. Although Su Sun Air and the others did not dare to put down their pride to get close to her, they still admired her in their hearts. Follow me closely. Yi Jioga commanded and led Luo Tian and Yi Yu into the red mist. Bailey Ma Yun and Nan Gongli split into two wings and followed her in. His vision was filled with red. Miasma filled the air, and a pungent stench assailed his nostrils. However, the expected attack did not come. It was as if the blood mosquitoes had disappeared. What's going on? Yi frowned. The last time they entered the array, they were immediately attacked. Beware of traps. Yi Jioga warned as he advanced even more cautiously. What are you trying to do? You're clearly trying to lure the enemy in, okay? Zishang laughed disdainfully. Yi Jioga realized that Zishang was definitely an expert at ruining the atmosphere. Such a tense and strange atmosphere that could erupt at any moment came out of his mouth as easily as if he was on an outing. Yi Jioga couldn't help but be glad that he had Purple to See stealth all this time. Otherwise, those spiritualists would definitely be killed by him. Young Mistress Yi, what should we do next? Bailey Ma Yun, who was on the left, asked in confusion. Continue forward. Yi Jioga quickened her pace and advanced towards the mountain-protecting array's life gate. After walking for another incense stick's time, there was still no movement from the blood mosquitoes. At this moment, Zishang suddenly said, "There's an ambush ahead." Yi Jioga opened her spiritual eye and looked carefully. She saw that there were countless, dense, blood-colored figures halfway up the Blood Cloud Peak. It turned out that the bloodthirsty sect was preparing to launch a sneak attack. Everyone, stay alert. Yi Jioga immediately took out her Thunder Snake illusionary whip. The whip transformed into a purple lightning snake that revolved above her head. Yi Yu and Luo Tian also became alert. Lil Red and Black Tyrant stood by their sides to protect them. Bailey Ma Yun and the rest moved slightly slower. Suddenly, a loud buzzing sound came from halfway up the blood cloud peak. A huge blood cloud with a pungent stench rushed over. F***, what's that smell? It stinks to death. Bailey Moyun had never smelled such a stench in his life. He almost vomited. He hurriedly sealed the position of his nose aperture, but he felt dizzy. At this moment, a clear chirp sounded. Xiao Tao flapped her wings and stood on top of Bailey Moyun's head. She looked like she could hold back 10,000 enemies by herself. Ever since she found out that her stupid master was raising a small 3-cloud leopard, Xiao Tao had been very proactive. She finally had a chance to make a contribution. Good job, Xiao Tao. Continue. Bailey Moyun praised and took out his dragon-slaying sword to attack the blood cloud. Xiao Tao proudly let out bird chirps again and again, breaking through the hallucinogenic effects of the miasma. Su Sun Air, Xia Chenxi, Sun Shufeng, and the other spirit practitioners immediately regained their senses and took out their spirit tools to attack the blood mosquitoes. Seeing how powerful Xiao Tao was, Su Sun Air could not help but be tempted. She had never thought of raising a spirit beast before, because it was too troublesome and expensive. But goo worms were different. They had high spirituality, didn't eat much, and looked cute. They were worth raising. Her mind was distracted, and the movements of her hands slowed down a little. At this moment, a strange blood light was mixed in the blood cloud. It sinisterly attacked Su Sun Air's head, but she did not notice it at all. Yi Jioga was always on guard against the sneak attack of the bloodthirsty sect disciples. Seeing this, he whipped out his Thunder Snake illusionary whip and extinguished the sneak attack in time. Su Sun Air came back to her senses and broke out in a cold sweat. She quickly thanked Yi Jioga. Be careful, Yi Jioga replied, then raised his voice and yelled to the crowd. Everyone, be careful of the bloodthirsty sect disciples' sneak attacks. Damn, sneak attacks. Wait for me to rush in and kill them all. Sun Shufeng shouted and shot out colorful spirit lights. This guy was also a weirdo. He usually looked like he was afraid of trouble, but once he was on the battlefield, he became braver the more he fought. He used a low-grade 1,000 chance umbrella vigorously and constantly changed. The spirit light it emitted was like a rainbow, blasting out skeletons from the blood cloud. Kill them all. The other spirit practitioners also yelled in unison. Although the spirit practitioners' morale was high, the bloodthirsty sect disciples were too cunning. The hidden weapons they shot out were all hidden in the blood mosquitoes, so it was very difficult to detect. Luckily, Yi Jioga's eyes were sharp enough. He instantly turned into a mobile force to save the situation, so there were not too many casualties. Eldest young lady, how far are we from the life gate? Gong Honglei asked as he killed. Not far. Everyone, follow me to kill. Yi Jioga swung his Thunder Snake illusion whip and blasted a bloody path in the blood cloud. He led the spirit practitioners forward. Seeing this, the bloodthirsty sect disciples immediately increased their attacks and commanded the blood mosquitoes to attack crazily. Yi Jioga and the others stepped on the thick blood mosquito corpses and finally reached the life gate safely. The blood mist in front of them was as thick as water. From above, it looked like a deep red lake, which made people shudder. Chapter 257. In front of us is the life gate. Master Gong, you have to go by yourself. Yi Jioga looked at Gong Shifan meaningfully. Be careful. Gong Shifan looked deeply at the strange and terrifying red mist in front of him. Without saying anything, he walked forward. Lin Yinshi and Wang Hao forcibly suppressed the joy in their hearts and immediately followed Gong Shifan. The red mist immediately drowned the two of them. They could no longer see their figures. Bailey Maya knew that the two were spies and couldn't help but worry about Gong Shifan. But since everyone was worried, he didn't seem special. Eldest miss, are we going to wait here? Gong Honglei asked nervously. No. Everyone attack the bloodthirsty sect with me now, Yi Jioga said. Yi Yu and Skinny Monkey had already agreed on a place to break the formation. They were just waiting for them to attack. Now, Gong Honglei frowned. Third uncle just went in. The chance to break the formation is only an instant. We have to prepare to attack now. Yi Jioga couldn't explain to Gong Honglei that the spirit weapon was a trap for the spies in front of all the spiritualists. No, I have to wait for third uncle to come out. Gong Honglei shook his head stubbornly. Yi Jioga cursed inwardly. She had seen Gong Honglei's stubbornness before. This was troublesome. There was no time to explain in detail to Gong Honglei. Should he knock him out and take him away? Just as Yi Jioga was considering this possibility, Bailey Mayun suddenly stood up. No way. Bailey Mayun was going to cause trouble? Yi Jioga immediately felt a headache. Unexpectedly, Bailey Mayun looked at Gong Honglei with a serious expression and said, Honglei, did you forget what Master Gong said before we left? He asked you to help eldest mismanage the team. Is this how you help? I'm just worried about third uncle. Gong Honglei was anxious. He definitely had no intention of going against Yi Jioga. Master Gong will be fine. You should trust him. Yi Jioga comforted. But Gong Honglei didn't know how to express his unease. He had a feeling that something was going to happen to third uncle. Honglei, eldest miss is our leader now. Military orders are like mountains. You can't bargain. Bailey Mayu knew that Yi Jioga's plan couldn't be delayed. He could only harden his heart and speak harshly to Gong Honglei. That's right. Nangongli also stood up to support Yi Jioga. With these two expressing their stance, Su Sun, Xia Chenxi, Sun Shufeng, and the other spiritualists also expressed their support for Yi Jioga. Some spiritualists who wanted to curry favor with Yi Jioga directly asked Gong Honglei to stay while they followed Yi Jioga. Yi Jioga looked at Gong Honglei awkwardly. Of course, she couldn't just leave him here. Fortunately, Gong Honglei quickly sobered up and said to Yi Jioga in shame, Mo Yun is right. You are our leader now. I should listen to you. All right, then let's go. Yi Jioga said as he led everyone towards the direction of the Death Gate. Eldest miss, that is the Death Gate. Gong Honglei was stunned. The Death Gate was a place of no return. I know. Don't worry, just follow me. Yi Jioga nodded. The most dangerous place was also the safest place. With Skinny Monkey acting as a spy, even the gates of death could be turned around. Gong Honglei still wanted to say something, but Bailey Mayun tugged on his sleeve. Trust eldest miss, Bailey Mayun said resolutely. Gong Honglei was stunned. When did Bailey Mayun and Yi Jioga become so close? She is the leader, Bailey Mayun added. Gong Honglei didn't say anything else. Yi Jioga finally let out a sigh of relief. She was extremely grateful to Bailey Mayun. If it wasn't for Bailey Mayun's persuasion, she wouldn't know how much longer she would have to talk to convince Gong Honglei. When the bloodthirsty sect disciples hidden halfway up the mountain saw Yi Jioga and the others rush towards the Death Gate without looking back, they immediately looked at each other. Why did they turn around? Then what should we do next? The Patriarch's order was to take down all the people from the Spiritualist Alliance at the Life Gate. All of the bloodthirsty sect's forces were deployed here. Moving them would be a huge project. Let them leave first. It won't be too late to chase after them after we kill Gong Shifan. The disciple in charge of this operation quickly made a decision. Gong Shifan, the spiritualist, was still a bigger threat. Thus, the bloodthirsty sect disciples continued to lie in ambush and shot bloody spirit lights at the Life Gate. At the Life Gate, red mist rolled and miasma filled the air. Gong Shifan put up a protective spirit light to block the attacks of the bloodthirsty sect disciples and cautiously walked inside. Wang Haoqiang pointed at a very hidden empty space and said, Master Gong, I think this location is pretty good. Why don't we install the spirit weapon here? No rush. Let's look around a bit more. Gong Shifan shook his head and continued to observe the surroundings. His plan was to wait for the two spies to attack and then throw down the secret spirit weapon and escape. Thus, he had to figure out a way to retreat. Wang Haoqiang and Lin Yinshi looked at each other and slowly approached Gong Shifan. Why are you guys getting closer? Gong Shifan frowned and said, Spread out and find a good spot. Yes. Wang Haoqiang and Lin Yinshi didn't dare to face Gong Shifan directly. They could only split up and pretend to look for a good spot. As time passed, the attacks of the bloodthirsty sect disciples became fiercer and fiercer. Gong Shifan had a high cultivation level, so he naturally wasn't afraid. However, they couldn't resist anymore. The bloody spirit lights of the bloodthirsty sect disciples wouldn't avoid them. "We can't wait any longer." Lin Yinshi gave Wang Haoqiang a look. The old ancestor gave each of them a box of fireballs. He originally wanted to ambush Gong Shifan while he was installing the spirit weapon, but he couldn't wait any longer. Wang Haoqiang received the notification and immediately used his spirit power to activate the fireballs and throw them at Gong Shifan. There was a loud bang. Flames soared into the sky, and the red mist burned until it emitted a pungent smell. Lin Yinshi and Wang Haoqiang pounced at Gong Shifan at the same time to kill him. Gong Shifan was already prepared and immediately used the 100 Eyes Spirit Mirror to block their attacks. At the same time, he pretended to be angry and shouted, "What is the meaning of this?" "Apologies, Master Gong. This is our duty, so please come with us to the bloodthirsty sect." Lin Yinshi revealed a fake smile. The fragrant spirit handkerchief in her hand exploded with a hazy white light and tightly trapped Gong Shifan's 100 Eyes Spirit Mirror. Wang Haoqiang took the opportunity to throw dozens of fireballs at Gong Shifan. The two of them had discussed many times in private on how to attack Gong Shifan, so their cooperation was very powerful. The explosion rumbled, and a large hole appeared in the bloody mist that filled the sky. Gong Shifan seemed to be in a very difficult situation. Even a secret spirit weapon in his hand fell to the ground. He didn't have time to pick it up and turn to escape. He didn't expect that in the red mist behind him, a skinny figure was silently approaching him without him noticing. Chapter 258. A palm suffused with a thick bloody light slammed into Gong Shifan's body. His body was blown away as if he had been hit by an iron bull. He landed on the ground, a trickle of blood trickling down the corner of his mouth. Bloodthirsty forefather, Gong Shifan clutched his aching chest and looked in shock at the thin figure walking out of the red mist. He had been on guard, but he had still fallen into the trap. Bloodthirsty forefather laughed and made a one-handed seal. The blood mist in the sky condensed into a bloody hand that snatched at Gong Shifan. Gong Shifan raised the 100 Eye Spirit Mirror and shot a gold light to shatter Bloodthirsty forefather's bloody hand. "Gong Shifan, is that all you can do?" Bloodthirsty forefather swung his hand, and the blood mist in the sky condensed into many bloody palms that attacked Gong Shifan. The blood mist of the protective formation was made from forefather Bloodthirsty's blood pond. It could be said that it was endless. No one could defeat him in this place. Gong Shifan understood this. If he delayed any longer, he would be killed by Bloodthirsty forefather. He bit the tip of his tongue and spat blood at the 100 Eye Spirit Mirror. The palm-sized 100 Eyes spiritual mirror suddenly shrunk to the size of a thumb, and then burst out with a bright white light that could blind people's eyes. 100 Eye destruction was the unique technique of the Gong family. My eyes, my eyes. Lin Yinshi only saw a white world in front of her. She couldn't see anything. Wang Haoqiang was the closest, and his eyes were bleeding. Bloodthirsty forefather immediately covered his eyes and retreated 3 feet. Gong Shifan didn't want to chase and ran away immediately. However, just as his figure rushed into the red mist, another skinny figure suddenly rushed out, and a pair of bloody red palms fiercely slammed into his body. Gong Shifan was blown away again. He vomited blood and fell on the ground. He lifted his head and found that it was Bloodthirsty forefather who had ambushed him. How was it possible? Gong Shifan didn't believe that Bloodthirsty forefather could recover that fast under his 100 Eye destruction attack. "Gong Shifan, you can't escape. Die." An arrogant voice arose behind Gong Shifan. He turned around and saw Bloodthirsty forefather again. However, this Bloodthirsty forefather had a lively expression, while the one who had ambushed him was as stiff as a corpse. Right, Incorpse sect. The Bloodthirsty ancestor had a close relationship with the Incorpse sect, so he must have his own Incorpse. This Incorpse looked exactly like the Bloodthirsty ancestor. It was very likely that it was his twin brother. The Incorpses refined with this cruel method would double in strength. Bloodthirsty forefather's current strength wasn't at the beginner level of a spirit master, but an intermediate level. They had been tricked. Capture him. Bloodthirsty's forefather ordered his twin corpses. The corpse immediately charged at Gong Shifan. Gong Shifan saw that the situation was not good and immediately swallowed the 100 Eyes spiritual mirror. The dazzling golden light spread from his abdomen to his entire body, condensing into golden crystals that wrapped him up tightly, as if he was sleeping in a golden coffin. The 100-eyed crystal coffin was the Gong family's life-saving technique. These yellow crystals could protect his body from any harm for 100 days. The longer he maintained it, the more energy he had to expend. If it really could only be removed after 100 days, then even if he survived, he would become a cripple. Gong Shifan was betting that Yi Jioga could save him in time. So what if he used this move? He's just struggling at death's door. Bloodthirsty Ancestor had a disapproving expression, then ordered Wang Haoqiang, bring him back. Yes, Wang Haoqiang's eyes had already recovered a bit. After kicking Gong Shifan, he used a rope to tie him up and drag him to the ground. Give me the spirit weapon. Bloodthirsty Ancestor had already seen Lin Yinshi pick up the black box. Lin Yinshi's hand tightened on the black box. Then she handed it over to Bloodthirsty Ancestor with a fawning expression. Ancestor, how about we give it to the Lord Envoy now? Wang Haoqiang said in a flattering tone. Let's go. Bloodthirsty Ancestor also knew that this treasure was not something he could keep, so he just gave it to Si Yue. At this time, Yi Jioga had just brought Bailey Ma Yun and the others to the Death Gate. They saw that this place was covered in blood-red vines, and the red mist emitted the gray of death. Even if they had taken the Yin pill, they still could not stand this thick death aura. Eldest Miss, can we really break the mountain guarding formation from here? Su Sun Air asked with a frown. Of course. Yi Jioga gave Yi Yu a look, asking him to call Skinny Monkey. Yi Yu lit a fire and burned the red communication talisman that Skinny Monkey had given him. The talisman flashed, but the death gate in front of them did not react. Time passed second by second. The martial practitioners could not stand it, and even Xiao Tao and the other goo worms were trembling. They had only hatched for a short time, so they could not adapt to this powerful poison. Under such circumstances, even Bailey Ma Yun, who trusted Yi Jioga the most, was slightly shaken. Why don't we leave first? Bailey Ma Yun suggested. Wait a little longer. Yi Jioga's expression was calm, but he was extremely nervous. Did Skinny Monkey betray them? But did something happen? I'll go in and take a look. Yi Yu gritted his teeth. He did not believe that Skinny Monkey would betray his sister. It's useless even if you go. Yi Jioga shook his head. This mountain guarding formation could only be broken from the inside. It seemed like he could only let Zi Shang think of a way. Yi Jioga was about to retreat with his people. Suddenly, the fog around the Death Gate rumbled, and the entire mountain guarding formation rumbled. Those blood-colored vines were destroyed as if their lives had been taken away. The red fog dispersed, and a bright opening appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The mountain guarding formation had actually been destroyed. Charge! Yi Jioga shouted. Yi Yu rushed in like a gust of wind. Yi Jioga was afraid that something would happen to him, so he instructed Luo Tian to stay and help Bailey Ma Yun and the others, and chased after him. The two of them passed through the opening and rushed into Blood Cloud Peak, and saw Skinny Monkey lying in a pool of blood. Skinny Monkey! Yi Yu was shocked and rushed over to stop the bleeding, but he found that Skinny Monkey's body was full of holes, and he did not know where to start. Young mistress! Yi Yu raised his head and looked at Yi Jioga anxiously. His meridians are broken. There is no cure. Yi Jioga shook his head helplessly. Don't worry about me. Elder Ancestor has caught Gong Shifan, and they are dividing the loot in the main hall. Quickly go and save him. Skinny Monkey's mouth was bubbling with blood, and he spoke with difficulty. All right. Yi Yu nodded his head in pain. If he knew that Skinny Monkey would die from breaking the formation, he would not have begged him. You must save your sister. When Skinny Monkey mentioned Yunji, he immediately grabbed Yi Yu's hand tightly. I will never give up while I'm still alive, Yi Yu said resolutely. Only then did Skinny Monkey let go of his hand. His dilated eyes stared at the red mole between Yi Yu's eyebrows, and the scene of him meeting Yunji for the first time gradually appeared in his mind. Dressed in red, with a hint of coldness and gentleness, she was incomparably moving. Skinny Monkey's mouth revealed a blissful smile, and he muttered, "Yunji, Yunji." Then his head tilted, and he completely stopped breathing. Chapter 259. Give his ashes to your sister. Yi Jyoga believed that this was also the Skinny Monkey's wish. Yi nodded silently, took out a kerosene, and placed it on the Skinny Monkey's body. A raging fire ignited, and in a few breaths, the Skinny Monkey's body was burnt to ashes. Yi carefully put away the ashes and returned to Yi Jyoga's side. At this time, Bailey Mayun, Gong Honglei, and the others passed through the crack with Luo Tian's help, safely entering Blood Cloud Peak. Gong Honglei finally recovered and said anxiously, "Eldest miss, my third uncle was captured. We need to go save him." "Don't worry, we will definitely rescue Master Gong." Yi Jyoga nodded and led the spirit practitioners towards Blood Cloud Peak. Blood Cloud Peak, inside the hall. Is this the spirit tool that can affect the operation of the formation? Siyue looked curiously at the black box, and her slender white fingers brushed the surface of the box and asked, "What is inside?" This subordinate is not sure. We did not have a chance to open it along the way. Wang Haoqiang shook his head, but Yi Jyoga said that this spirit tool is very powerful, and that when it is opened, someone needs to guard it, so we did not dare to touch it. Lin Yinshi added, "In that case, please guard it, ancestor. I want to see what treasure is inside." Siyue wanted to present a treasure, but she needed to know what it was first. "All right, Lady Envoy, rest assured, Ancestor will guard it for you." Ancestor Bloodthirsty also wanted to know what this mysterious spirit tool looked like. Lin Yinshi and Wang Haoqiang, of course, did not have the qualifications to guard it, and could only watch from aside. Cus sat cross-legged on the ground, her white hands covered in a layer of pale red light, and carefully tore open the yellow seal on the black box. The box opened with a pada sound. Cua looked carefully and saw that inside the wooden box was a pearl that was slightly black on the outside and incomparably green on the inside, emitting a faint fragrance. "What is this?" Cua curiously picked up the pearl and was about to take a closer look. Suddenly, the dark green bead shattered with a boom. Thick green smoke billowed and instantly filled the entire bloody hole. Lin Yinshi, who was standing next to him, smelled this green smoke and immediately softened to the ground. Her delicate face unexpectedly grew numerous bloody blisters, making her look as terrible as a toad. Wang Haoqiang, on the other hand, felt intense pain all over his body. His stomach was churning and black blood was gushing out of his mouth. Even his 7 apertures were bleeding. "It's the blue panacea. We've been tricked." Bloodthirsty's forefather immediately smelled the source of the thick smoke. The Azure Miracle Pill was a top-grade pill that could detoxify one's skin and remove blood poison. If an ordinary person smelled such a rich smell of the Green Miracle Pill, they would immediately be able to expel the toxins in their body and achieve a brand new effect. But to people from evil sects like them who cultivated blood for a living, this Green Miracle Pill was a highly toxic object. This was because they used blood to cultivate. The blood in their bodies condensed into blood essence, and when it was expelled by the Green Miracle Pill, it was equivalent to their cultivation being abolished. "You trash! You don't even know that you've been used." Cua roared furiously. She mainly controlled corpses and supplemented it with blood refinement, so the toxic reaction wasn't very strong. But even so, his cultivation had been greatly depleted. "It's useless to talk about this now. Let's leave this place and go to the blood pool. As long as we replenish our blood in time, we can reduce the damage." Bloodthirsty's forefather's condition was much worse than Cu's. The blood essence in his body was continuously expelled, and a lot of black blood seeped out of his pores. Even if he could repair it this time, his cultivation would fall by a lot. Cua was about to agree when she heard the earth-shaking sounds of fighting and the screams of the bloodthirsty sect disciples. "Not good. The Spiritualist Alliance is attacking." "What's going on?" Cua glared at Bloodthirsty's forefather. Didn't they say that the protective array was impossible to break? Now is not the time to care about this. Hurry up and call the demon corpse back to protect the array, Bloodthirsty's forefather said with a livid face. It really was a case of rain falling on a broken house. The Spiritualist Alliance had actually broken his protective array at this time. Ciuet took out the corpse control token and found that it was surrounded by black gas. That was a sign that the demon corpse was working. Needless to say, Yi Zi must have trapped the demon corpse. If she called the demon corpse back at this time, it would be one disaster after another. Damn, she had originally wanted to use Bloodthirsty's forefather to get rid of the Spiritualist Alliance and eat both of them. She didn't expect Bloodthirsty's forefather to be so useless. He actually let the Spiritualist Alliance attack. It seemed like she had to change her plan. So Ciuet made a prompt decision and said, "Retreat first, then observe." With that, she left as fast as she could. Cunning little bitch. Bloodthirsty's forefather cursed and prepared to go to the blood pool. "Forefather, please save me." Wang Haoqiang, covered in blood, grabbed Bloodthirsty's forefather's pants and begged. Scram! Bloodthirsty's forefather kicked him in the chest in disgust. Wang Haoqiang's internal organs were already injured by the thick smoke, and now he was kicked by Bloodthirsty's forefather. He fell to the ground with his eyes wide open, looking like he had died with a grievance. Lin Yinshi was so scared that she trembled, not even daring to breathe. Bloodthirsty's forefather couldn't be bothered to look at her. He turned and rushed back to the blood pool. Kill, kill, kill. At this time, Bloodthirsty sect was in chaos. Yi Jioga was leading Bailey Mayun and the others in a slaughter. Bloodthirsty sect's disciples were not prepared, and many were killed by Yi Jioga and the others in panic. However, Bloodthirsty sect's disciples were not mediocre. The remaining people immediately fled to the inner parts of Blood Cloud Peak and used the maze-like narrow passages to counterattack. Blood mist once again filled the entire passage. Bloodthirsty sect's disciples attacked crazily under the cover of the mist. The bloody aura shot out randomly like arrows. There were also many fine needles, numbing needles, and blood needles mixed in, making it impossible to defend. Bailey Mayun waved the dragon-slaying sword and stood at the front. The dark green sword light blocked most of the bloody spirit lights. Nangong Li assisted him, casting talismans one after another to block the enemy's attacks. Gong Honglei was at the back, preventing people from flanking them. Even so, many spiritualists were injured. Su Sunair was stabbed by a numbing needle, and half of her body was paralyzed. She had to be supported. Xia Chenxi's face was disfigured by the blood needles, and she didn't even have time to apply the ointment. Sun Shufeng fought too fiercely and consumed a lot of spirit power. He fell to the ground and took out a spirit recovery pill. Eldest Miss, attacking like this is not a solution. Bailey Moyen stood at the front and shouted. He could not hold on much longer. Luo Tian, where's your young master? Yi Jioga asked Luo Tian. At this time, he had to ask Junie Chen for help. Luo Tian didn't reply, but glanced behind him from the corner of his eyes. Yi Jioga immediately understood. He walked to the wall behind Luo Tian and said, Little Mute, come out and help. Chapter 260. Little Mute? Who? Bailey Mayun was very curious when he heard this strange name, so he turned his head to look. The wall in front of Yi Jioga suddenly fell off, and a 9-year-old boy with pale skin, dark pupils, and exquisite facial features appeared in front of everyone. He glanced at the goo worms indifferently. Little Red and Black Tyrant lowered their heads. Little Peach, who was originally very excited, immediately quieted down. The green praying mantis shrunk its head, looking very afraid. Even the pretentious little eagle goo was very respectful to this boy. This was the prestige of a goo king. Little Mute, help them scout ahead. The sooner we eliminate those disciples, the sooner we can find Bloodthirsty Ancestor. Yi Jioga knew that Little Mute would not help these spiritualists, so he could only use Bloodthirsty Ancestor as an excuse. As expected, when Little Mute heard about finding Bloodthirsty Ancestor, a fierce glint flashed in his big black eyes. He slowly raised his small hand, and a dark light surged out of his palm, turning into countless black goo worms that scattered in the tunnel. Little Mute withdrew his hand and expressionlessly looked at Little Peach. Chirp, 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 watch me. For some reason, Little Peach's furry face became very serious. It flapped its little wings, circled in the air, and finally chose a tunnel and rushed in. Let's follow Little Peach and immediately attack when we hear its cries. Yi Jioga glanced at the spiritualists, then said to Bailey Mayun, "You can find Little Peach's tracks, right?" "I can find her, but can I rely on him?" It was not that Bailey Mayun was not responsible, but that Little Peach was too deceptive. Don't worry, those goo worms just now are tracking goo that specifically target bloodthirsty sect disciples. Just follow Little Peach, and we can defeat them one by one. Although Yi Jioga was not confident in Little Peach, he was very confident in Little Mute's tracking goo. All right, let's give it a try. In this situation, Bailey Mayun could only bite the bullet and rush forward. In the dark tunnel, Little Peach's pink feathers were very eye-catching. It jumped up and down like it was catching bugs, and suddenly jumped into a corner and chirped excitedly. Bailey Mayun immediately took out his dragon-slaying sword and slashed in the direction it pointed. With a boom, blood splattered everywhere. The corpse of a bloodthirsty sect disciple fell from the originally empty wall. His eyes were wide open, as if he had died with a grievance. Good job, Little Peach. Continue. Bailey Mayun took out a cherry pill and threw it over. Little Peach flew over and swallowed it in one gulp. She immediately became more proactive in searching for enemies. Bailey Mayun followed Xiao Tao's instructions and killed many enemies hiding in the dark. Even if there were occasional sneak attacks, Little Eagle and Little Green would discover and intercept them in time. You guys deal with these disciples. We'll go find Patriarch Bloodthirsty. Seeing that Bailey Mayun was fine, Yi Jioga prepared to go deal with the matter at hand. I'll go with you, Bailey Mayun said. How could he miss out on dealing with Bloodthirsty Ancestor? No, we need you more here. Although Bailey Mayun's swordsmanship wasn't bad, Yi Jioga had already discussed with Juni-chin and Yi Yu how to deal with the Bloodthirsty Ancestor. Now, he was just a burden. Bailey Yin did not know the inside story and hurriedly explained to Yi Jioga, Ali and Hong Lei also have goo worms. Let them take my place. Unexpectedly, Little Green and Little Eagle refused to cooperate at the same time. This task was given Xiao Tao by Goo King. How would they dare to take it? Gong Hong Lei and Nan Gong Li did not speak, but Su Xian Air stood up. You can go, but leave Xiao Tao behind. Her words meant that Xiao Tao was much more important than Bailey Mayun. Chirp, chirp, chirp. Xiao Tao flew to Bailey Mayun's head, indicating that she wanted to advance and retreat together with her stupid master. Forget it, I'll stay. You guys go. Bailey Mayun was helpless. The feeling of having a pet that was more capable than him was truly refreshing. Luo Tian, I'll leave the tracking goo to you, Yi Jioga said to Luo Tian. Little Mute's tracking goo could only be controlled by Luo Tian. The green praying mantis and Little Eagle goo could not be controlled. Don't worry, I'll definitely kill all these bloodthirsty sect disciples. Luo Tian's calm tone revealed incomparable hatred. To him, these bloodthirsty sect disciples were also enemies that exterminated his clan. He had to kill them all for revenge. All right. Yi Jioga nodded to Luo Tian, then said to Gong Hong Lei, don't worry, we'll definitely rescue Grandmaster Gong. All right. Gong Hong Lei did not know that his third uncle had already been captured. He thought that he was trapped somewhere, so he nodded in confusion. After Yi Jioga told everyone what to pay attention to, he brought Juni-chin and Yi Yu towards the hall, following the aura of the green miracle pill. The hall was a mess, and there was black poisonous blood everywhere. Bloodthirsty Ancestor and Si Yue were nowhere to be seen. Wang Haoqiang lay on the ground, his face twisted with hatred. Lin Yinshi hid in a corner, holding her bloody face and groaning in pain. The moment she saw Yi Jioga, she immediately shouted frantically, "Please save me." Yi Jioga looked down at Lin Yinshi and asked, "Tell me where Bloodthirsty Ancestor and Si Yue went, and I'll help you." Bloodthirsty ancestor went to the blood pool to heal. I don't know where Siyue went. Lin Yinshi breathed heavily and answered with difficulty. All right. Yi Jioga raised his hand and shot out a purple spirit light, instantly piercing through Lin Yinshi's heart. Lin Yinshi stared at Yi Jioga with wide eyes, her lips moving as if she wanted to say something. No need to thank me. Yi Jioga acted as if this was what he should do. Lin Yinshi's face twisted, and she violently gasped for breath before collapsing unwillingly. Yiyu, where's the blood pool? Yi Jioga walked past Lin Yinshi's corpse to Yiyu. Yiyu took out the map of Blood Cloud Mountain that Skinny Monkey had given him, pointed at the center, and said, "It's here. Let's go." Yi Jioga continued to rush there. The three of them passed through the passageways and arrived at the blood pool where Bloodthirsty Ancestor cultivated. At this time, the stone door was closed, and there was no one outside. Yi Jioga raised his hand and used brute force to break open the stone door. Debris flew everywhere, and the smell of blood assaulted their nostrils. What they saw was Yu Lingjun soaking in the blood pool with a painful expression. Bloodthirsty Ancestor sat in the middle of the blood pool, and the black blood on his body had been diluted a lot. Yi Jioga raised the Thunder Snake illusion whip and swung it at Bloodthirsty Ancestor. Blood splashed everywhere, and the pool cracked. Bloodthirsty Ancestor's eyes were closed, but his body automatically flew out of the blood pool, nimbly dodging the whip. Yi Jioga did not chase after him, but took Yu Lingjun with him. Yu Lingjun was still breathing, but the flesh of her two calves had been completely dissolved, revealing her white bones. Yi Jioga sealed several of her major acupuncture points, fed her an essence-nurturing pill, and put her aside. Bloodthirsty Ancestor opened his eyes and looked at Yi Jioga and the others with hatred. Time was too short, and he could only expel the poison on the surface of the green miracle pill. His body was still seriously injured. Chapter 261. Bloodthirsty Old Monster. Juni-chin gritted his teeth as he looked at the enemy who exterminated his clan. A pair of big black eyes were suffused with thin streaks of blood, and his abdomen was violently bulging, bursting out with endless killing intent. Little trash, I let you live that year out of kindness. I didn't think you would come back to die. Bloodthirsty Ancestor laughed eerily. Let's see who dies first. The life-bound Gu's sharp voice came out of Juni-chin's mouth. Its face, which looked like Juni-chin's, was extremely ferocious. Its golden wings flapped up and down, and those eerie human faces turned into flying human heads Gu that looked exactly like it. You refine my lifeblood essence. Bloodthirsty Ancestor immediately smelled a familiar aura from the life-bound Gu. He didn't think that his lifeblood essence was refined by this little trash. If he knew this, he would have killed him no matter what. That's right, Dai. The life-bound Gu let out a sharp howl. The flying human heads Gu surged towards Bloodthirsty Ancestor like a black tide. Bloodthirsty Ancestor flipped his palm, and a palm-sized blood-colored bell appeared. This bell was quite similar to Lu Yunfei's back then, but the lines on it were even more complicated, and its power was even more powerful. Yi Jioga immediately poured half a bottle of clear heart pills into his mouth. Yiyu and Juni-chin did the same. Bloodthirsty Ancestor shook the bell, and the demonic sound shook people's souls like a group of demons dancing. Juni-chin was prepared for this move after fighting Lu Yunfei last time. He and the life-bound Gu let out a strange and cryptic sound at the same time. The flying human heads Gu immediately gathered together, turning into a small blackbird similar to Little Peach. It opened its mouth and let out a chirping sound. The sound of tens of thousands of Gu was much more powerful than Little Peach's, instantly suppressing Bloodthirsty Ancestor's demonic sound. Bloodthirsty Ancestor's expression changed slightly, and the sound of the blood bell changed again. It sounded like it was crying and complaining, as if it was summoning something. Yi Jioga's hair stood on end, and he quickly opened his spiritual eye to take a closer look. He saw a thin, blood-red figure appear on the wall behind Juni-chin. Careful! She swung her Thunder Snake illusionary whip and shot a purple lightning bolt at the wall, blocking the red figure that was flying out. Jun Ichin's reaction was also very fast, immediately controlling the human head flying goo to shoot an arm-thick black light towards the red figure. With a loud bang, gray light and blood splattered everywhere. After the light dispersed, the blood-red shadow revealed its true appearance. It was an corpse that looked exactly like Bloodthirsty's forefather. Twin corpses? Yi Jiogo was shocked. She also recognized how strong these corpses were. Kill them all. Bloodthirsty's ancestor ordered the corpses. The twin corpses' blood aura exploded, and a hole appeared in the ground with a single step. Their bodies were like cannonballs as they flew towards the black bird formed by the human head flying goo. The human head flying goo could not dodge in time and was hit by the twin corpses' palms. It gave a pitiful cry and was instantly destroyed. Jun Ichin's body trembled, and a trace of blood seeped out from the corner of his mouth. His dark eyes revealed an even fiercer expression. The remaining head flying goo gathered again and fought with the twin corpses. However, it was obvious that the natal goo was no match for it. Yi Jioga saw that the situation was bad and immediately bit her finger to feed blood to the Thunder Snake Illusionary Whip. The Thunder Snake Illusionary Whip's blood aura exploded, revealing the true appearance of the black and white pythons. Go! Yi Jioga pointed at the twin corpses. The Thunder Snake Illusionary Whip roared and turned into a black and white python, fiercely charging at the twin corpses. The twin corpses' blood aura exploded and turned into two blood-red palms, trying to break the black and white pythons. Yi Jioga formed a seal, and the white python dodged the two blood-red palms, tightly binding the twin corpses. The black python took this chance to open its mouth and bite at the twin corpses. The twin corpses' blood aura condensed into stone, blocking the black python's attack. Little mute, quickly go! Yi Jioga shouted. Jun Ichin immediately spat out a mouthful of blood essence towards the natal goo. The natal goo's body shined with a golden light, covering the remaining human head flying goo. The human head flying goo split into countless more, instantly submerging the twin corpses, swallowing the twin corpses' blood aura in large mouthfuls. The bloodthirsty ancestor was incomparably distressed. The twin corpses' blood aura was refined from the purest blood essence. Each mouthful was the result of many years of hard work. Seeing the critical situation, the bloodthirsty ancestor could not care about anything else. He fiercely bit the tip of his tongue and spat out a mouthful of blood essence onto the blood-red bell, crazily shaking it. The twin corpses' blood-red eyes flashed with a fierce light. The blood aura on their body turned into countless flying needles, sending the human head flying goo flying. Yi Jioga's white python's light became dimmer and dimmer. It could not last much longer. The bloodthirsty ancestor's heart was filled with joy, concentrating even more on controlling the twin corpses to escape. Hold on. Yi Jioga continued to pour spiritual energy into the Thunder Snake Illusionary Whip, but the white python still could not bind the twin corpses. When the twin corpses were about to escape, the bloodthirsty ancestor suddenly gave a pitiful cry. His weak abdomen had been pierced by a gray blade. Yi had been secretly looking for an opportunity ever since he had taken the secret pill. Finally, when the bloodthirsty ancestor was concentrating on controlling the twin corpses, his sneak attack succeeded. The bloodthirsty ancestor was a decisive person. His palm slammed into the gray blade. The gray blade was instantly sent flying, and Yi was also slammed into the wall by this huge force. I'll kill you all. The bloodthirsty ancestor went crazy after being injured. A cold light flashed in his hand, and a several-inch-long blood-red dagger appeared. He raised the dagger and chopped off half of his hand. When the twin corpses saw this, they immediately swallowed it in large mouthfuls, letting out a painful groan. Two black lights came from the top of its head, finally turning into two strange goat horns. When it opened its bloody mouth, sharp fangs that were several inches long could be seen. Its eyes and hair had also turned blood red, making it look extremely terrifying. Ghost corpse? Yi Joga's pupils shrank. This was the combination of a ghost head and a zombie. It was a very strange corpse controlling technique. Kill them all. The bloodthirsty ancestor endured the pain in his hand and pointed at Yi Joga's group as he roared. The ghost corpse's eyes flashed with a red light, and it immediately turned into a blood-red shadow that charged at Yi Joga. Yi Joga's expression became serious as he formed a seal. The black and white pythons formed a circle around her head and tail. The ghost corpse slammed into the circle. The circle violently shook. Yi Joga's face turned white, and he couldn't help taking 3 steps back. The ghost corpse opened its large bloody mouth and spat out a thick blood-red light, as thick as an arm at the black and white pythons. With a loud explosion, the circle formed by the black and white pythons suddenly shattered into countless black and white lights. The thunder snake illusionary whip gave a mournful cry and flew back into Yi Joga's hand. Yi Joga's eyes turned black and his chest was filled with pain. His blood rushed up and a mouthful of blood rushed his throat. Chapter 262. Bloodthirsty Ancestor was overjoyed and shook the bell even more crazily, trying to control the ghost zombie to kill Yi Joga. At the crucial moment, Juni-chin risked his life. He used his index finger to cut his wrist and sprinkled a lot of blood on the life-bound goo and flying head goo. The life-bound goo screeched crazily and fused with the remaining flying head goo into a sharp spear that stabbed at Bloodthirsty Ancestor. Bloodthirsty Ancestor's pupils shrank, and he immediately summoned the ghost zombie to block in front of him. The ghost zombie let out an angry roar. The 2 goat horns on its forehead flew out and turned into 2 black lights that collided with the spear. It was a silent collision, but the light that was emitted was even more terrifying. The entire cave wall was shaking and countless fragments fell down from it. The ghost zombie stood in place without moving. The life-bound goo flew back to Juni-chin's shoulder. Juni-chin's small face was deathly pale and his eyes, nose, and mouth were bleeding. It seemed that his injuries were not light. Ha ha ha! Bloodthirsty Ancestor laughed wildly and looked at Yi Joga's group as if he was looking at dead people. If you obediently surrender, I can leave your corpses intact. Then he chopped off 2 fingers and threw them to the ghost zombie, trying to capture Yi Joga's group in one go. The ghost zombie's attacks became fiercer. Juni-chin and the life-bound goo could only barely defend. Yi swallowed another secret pill and hid in the shadows, looking for a chance to attack. Yi Joga stood in place without moving. Her beautiful eyes flashed as she searched for the weakness of Bloodthirsty Ancestor and the ghost zombie. In her spirit eyes vision, Bloodthirsty Ancestor and the ghost zombie were 2 red shadows. Bloodthirsty Ancestor was hit by her green miracle pill, so the blood shadow was faint. After the ghost zombie swallowed Bloodthirsty Ancestor's fingers, the blood shadow was thicker. However, there was a dark red spot on the top of its head, which was closely related to the blood-colored bell in Bloodthirsty Ancestor's hand. It was there. Yi Joga's eyes brightened. She grabbed the thunder snake illusionary whip and poured all her spirit energy into it. The black and white pythons fused together and turned back into the purple lightning snake, flying towards Bloodthirsty Ancestor. This was Yi Joga's last attack. The lightning on the purple lightning snake was the size of a thumb and was very ferocious. Bloodthirsty Forefather didn't dare to face it head-on and immediately dodged to the side. He did not expect that the target of Yi Joga's whip was not him, but the top of the ghost zombie's skull. Bang! The dark red color on the top of the ghost zombie's head was shattered. The bell in Bloodthirsty Forefather's hand flew out as well. He hurriedly summoned the blood-red bell back. The blood-red bell that had just flown out immediately flew back. Forefather Bloodthirsty took back the bell and tried to control the ghost zombie again. A moment later, the ghost zombie's shriveled hand silently pierced Forefather Bloodthirsty's chest. The ghost zombie forcefully pulled out a bright red heart. Yi Joga couldn't help but look at the ghost zombie's shadow. It turned out that Yi was hiding there, using the puppet killer to control the ghost zombie to attack Bloodthirsty Forefather. The bloodthirsty ancestor never thought that he would die to his own corpse. His eyes bulged out, and he reached out with a trembling hand, trying to take back his heart. However, Yi Joga's whip had smashed his heart into minced meat. Bloodthirsty ancestor's face was filled with despair as he looked at the minced meat on the ground. He fell to the ground with a bang. Very quickly, he turned into a puddle of black blood. The ghost zombie's goat horns and fangs had all disappeared. After it turned back into the twin corpses, it also fell next to bloodthirsty ancestor. Yi Joga took out a drop of kerosene and dripped it on the twin corpses. Bloodthirsty ancestor and the 3 blood pawns were completely burned. Bloodthirsty ancestor is really dead. Junichin looked at the raging fire in front of him. He suddenly had a feeling of realization. The bloodthirsty ancestor that he thought was invincible had died at his hands. He had finally taken revenge for his clansmen. Bloodthirsty ancestor is dead, but Si Yue is still alive. We have to find her quickly. Yi Joga did not forget that Si Yue and the demon corpses were the final big bosses. I'll go with you. Yi Yu's hoarse voice came from the corner. He had used up all his spirit energy to control the ghost zombie. You stay here to support Bailey Ma Yun and take care of Yuling Jun. Yi Joga looked at Yi Yu's pale face and said, No, I'm going to find Si Yue. Yi Yu supported himself against the wall and stood up. He immediately fell to the ground. He had just swallowed 2 pills, and his body was exhausted. He could not even walk now. Why are you still trying to show off at this time? Yi Joga threw a bottle of spirit-recovering pills to Yi Yu and said, Just stay here. Yi Yu's hand was shaking as he received the bottle. He knew that this would only drag Yi Joga down. He could only helplessly nod and say, Young miss, be careful. What about you? How do you feel? Yi Joga looked at Junichin and his life-bound goo. Even if there are 2 more bloodthirsty ancestor, this young master can still kill them. The life-bound goo arrogantly circled Yi Joga's head and then flew back into Junichin's stomach. Its mouth was screaming loudly, but it was actually exhausted to death. Junichin shook his head and powerlessly sat on the ground. Then you stay here and support Luo Tian with Yi Yu, Yi Joga said. The bloodthirsty ancestor's main targets were Junichin and the life-bound goo. She was not exhausted. Do you know where to find Si Yue? Junichin asked weakly. She should be near the eye of the formation. Yi Joga felt through the mark that Zishang was fighting with the demon corpse at the eye of the formation. Si Yue should not be too far away. Be careful. Junichin got his revenge and fulfilled his wish. He just wanted to wait for Luo Tian in peace. Don't be too relaxed. Yi Joga reminded the 2, then carefully walked towards the forbidden area of the bloodthirsty sect with the Thunder Snake illusionary whip. It was quiet along the way. The bloodthirsty sect disciples were mostly concentrated in front fighting the spirit practitioners. There was no one at the back. Yi Joga turned a few corners. When he passed by a cave, he heard a weak cry for help. It seemed to be Qiao Shaohua's voice. Qiao Shaohua, is that you? Yi Joga raised his voice and asked, Miss Yi, you're finally here. Hurry and save my junior sister. She was taken away by the bloodthirsty ancestor. Qiao Shaohua's anxious voice came clearly from inside. Your junior sister is still alive. I've already sent people to take care of her. Hide yourself. Bailey Ma Yun and the others will come and save you later. Yi Joga did not have time to save a burden. She was about to leave when she heard Qiao Shaohua shout nervously, Miss, don't go. Master Gong is here too. He doesn't look too good. Then hurry and move aside. I'm going to break the door. If it was Gong Shifan, she would definitely save him. Yi Joga broke the stone door with a whip and saw Qiao Shaohua standing in the corner with a pale face. He looked very weak. Beside him was a yellow coffin-like thing. Yi Joga walked closer and took a closer look. She realized that the person lying in the coffin was Gong Shifan. Chapter 263. What's wrong with Master Gong? Yi Joga asked Xiao Shaohua in shock. I'm not sure either. Bloodthirsty ancestor threw Master Gong in and took my junior sister out. But I heard that the Gong family had a life-saving secret art that can use a spirit artifact to stimulate the potential of the body and form a layer of crystal in the body. There will be no damage for 100 days, but the longer it takes to escape, the greater the damage to the cultivation. Xiao Xiaohua said. Yi Zhuge had heard of this secret art. Gong Shifan's situation was indeed very similar. Then do you know how to help him escape? Yi Zhuge asked. This is the Gong family's secret art. Only the Gong family knows about it. Xiao Xiaohua shook his head. If it was so easy to know the method to break the secret art, then Bloodthirsty Ancestor would have eaten Gong Shifan long ago. Then let's take Master Gong out first. Can we still leave? Yi Zhuge planned on letting Xiao Xiaohua pull the coffin. I can still walk, but my spirit power is sealed. I need young miss to take care of me. Xiao Xiaohua smiled bitterly. Yi Zhuge could see that Xiao Xiaohua's spirit power had been sealed by Bloodthirsty Ancestor using a special method. He was like a cripple. It was too troublesome to remove this restriction. It was better to leave and find Zishang first. Xiao Xiaohua didn't say much. He carried Gong Shifan on his back and followed Yi Zhuge to the forbidden area. At this moment, the forbidden area was already filled with debris and rumbling sounds could be heard. The demon corpse had probably received the order to fight with all its might. Every move was extremely powerful. The pitch-filled passageways were all destroyed. The 13 pillars were all over the place, covering the empty space in the middle. Zishang, on the other hand, appeared to be quite relaxed. He held a purplish-black spear in his hand and circled around the demon corpse as if he were playing with a cat. Seeing Yi Zhuge arrive, he could still throw a glance over. Yi Zhuge rolled his eyes at him. He squatted near the ruins and opened his spirit eye to search for traces of Cuyue. Logically, Cuyue's cultivation had been damaged by the green elixir. She couldn't be too far away from the demon corpse. However, she couldn't find any trace of Cuyue after looking around. Could she be at the Blood Lotus? Yi Zhuge called out the treasure-seeking scorpion and ordered, "See if there's a woman near the Blood Lotus." Creak! With a flash of yellow light, the treasure-seeking scorpion burrowed into the ground and searched quickly. It came back and reported, "Ji, there's no one nearby." Where did he hide? Yi Zhuge frowned and put away the treasure-seeking scorpion. He glanced at the demon corpse that was fighting intensely with Zishang and muttered to himself, "It seems that I have to think of a way to kill the demon corpse first." After fighting with the bloodthirsty ancestor, she found that each corpse had a control point. As long as he destroyed that area, he could break the connection between the corpse controller and the corpses. He did not believe that Cuyue would not appear. Yi Zhuge focused his gaze and saw that the demon corpse was covered in black qi, with only a little red near its heart. Zishang hit its heart, Yi Zhuge shouted. The purple deceased spear spun and burst forth with countless tiny spirit spikes that pierced towards the demon corpse. The demon corpse relied on its reinforced iron bones to ignore these little spirit spikes and continued to attack the purple deceased sword. Zishang revealed a sly smile and rubbed his fingers together. The small spirit spike that pierced the demon corpse's body instantly grew to the size of an arm and pierced through the demon corpse's heart. The demon corpse remained motionless, but it instinctively made a defensive posture. Zishang did not continue to attack the demon corpse, but rather stood on a pillar to recover his demonic energy. That move just now consumed a lot of demonic energy. If it wasn't for Yi Zhuge's request, he would not have used it. After all, the demon corpse was already dead. The heart was not its fatal point. Yi Zhuge saw the demon corpse stop and immediately looked for Cuyue with wide eyes. But she saw Zishang suddenly turn around and charge at her. A trace of panic suddenly appeared on his handsome demonic face, like he had seen something terrifying. The demon corpse that had stopped suddenly jumped up, its black claws reaching for Zishang's back. But Zishang did not care at all. He just crazily charged at Yi Zhuge. Yi Zhuge's heart skipped a beat. She inexplicably felt danger. But before she could react, she felt a pain in her waist. In the next moment, an extremely cold and powerful force suddenly erupted. She couldn't help flying out. Her water-red dress bloomed in the air, like a flower that was about to wither. Ha ha ha. A woman's proud laughter came from behind Yi Jioga. Xiao Xiaohua, who had been trembling just now, stood up, his eyes flashing red, his mouth revealing a strange smile. The real Xiao Xiaohua was already dead. Now it was just a corpse controlled by Si Yue's spirit. Si Yue took advantage of Yi Jioga's inattention and gave her a Xian Ming netherbone needle. This Xian Ming netherbone needle was specially used to destroy people's dantians. It was extremely vicious. She had only collected one. She used it on Yi Jioga this time. Firstly, because she hated him for using the green miracle pill to plot against her, and secondly, because she wanted to take the opportunity to drag Yi Zi down. As long as she and the demon corpse worked together to attack the heavily injured Yi Jioga, Yi Zi would be unable to defend herself. Sooner or later they would kill her, and the remaining people would not be a threat. When that time came, she would kill everyone in Blood Cloud Peak and bring back the Blood Lotus. It would be considered as completing Elder Cho Sen's task. Si Yue's attack was successful. Her spirit immediately separated from Xiao Xiaohua and returned to her body. She used the remaining Yin Qi in the array to set up a concealment array. Only then did she avoid the eyes of Yi Jioga and the treasure-seeking scorpion. Zishang's left hand hugged Yi Jioga, his right hand bursting with purple light, and he attacked Si Yue. Si Yue waved her hand craftily, grabbing Gong Shifan to use as a shield. Zishang's palm landed on Gong Shifan. The yellow crystal coffin did not move an inch, but Si Yue, who was hiding behind it, was sent flying 3 feet, crashing through a wall. Save me. Si Yue felt the endless killing intent from Zishang and immediately screamed. The demon corpse received the order and immediately pounced forward, hugging Zishang tightly with both hands. Zishang's black pupils instantly turned into purple vertical pupils. His jet black hair turned silver, dancing in the wind. A terrifying demonic aura burst out like lava, instantly shattering the demon corpse's 2 arms into pieces. Demon Emperor, how is this possible? Si Yue's eyes widened. She never thought that this so-called expert bodyguard was actually a demon, and a demon that was as terrifying as an emperor. Zishang opened his right hand, and the purple spear pierced towards Si Yue with a terrifying sound. Si Yue was so scared that her face turned ashen, and she threw out all the defensive talismans and spiritual weapons on her. Rays of defensive light lit up in front of her, but they were all shattered by Zishang's spear. Si Yue saw that she could not dodge, and could only bear the pain and put the iron tortoise Vajra protective talisman that Elder Cho San had given her on her chest. This talisman was said to be able to block an all-out attack from a high-level soul master. A black spiritual light that was as solid as a city wall lit up on Si Yue's body, looking indestructible and despairing. A demonic light flashed in Zishang's eyes, and the purple-black spear instantly turned into a silver dragon, smashing the precious iron tortoise Vajra protective talisman into pieces. Si Yue's whole body was in pain, and her meridians flowed backward. She suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Zishang wanted to kill her again, but the demon corpse rushed over without a care for its own safety, biting Si Yue's belt, and quickly fled into the distance, dragging its severed arm. Chapter 264. Zishang stared coldly at the fleeing demon corpse and Si Yue. Even if Si Yue didn't die, she would become a cripple. There was nothing to fear. The most important thing now was to save Jioga. Zishang suppressed his murderous intent and placed Yi Jioga on the ground. He asked nervously, "Jioga, how do you feel?" Yi Jioga curled up on the ground, her face pale. Her dantian was about to explode from the pain. She couldn't say a word. Zishang tore open Yi Jioga's clothes at the waist. Her flat belly was a mess. The 9 poisons had all mixed together and destroyed her dantian and meridians. Zishang's expression immediately turned terrifying. That damned woman had used the Xianming netherbone needles on Jioga. He should have torn her to pieces. Zishang. Yi Jioga lifted her head weakly. She could clearly feel her life slipping away. At this moment, she suddenly regretted arguing with Zishang in the past. She tried to lift her arm, wanting to touch Zishang's face and tell him not to be nervous. But before she could lift it, it drooped down powerlessly. "Don't be afraid. I will definitely save you." Zishang held her hand gently and spat out a thumb-sized purple pearl. The pearl's light was restrained, and one could vaguely see countless little dragons swimming inside. It was Zishang's beast core. Zishang stuffed the beast core into Yi Joga's mouth and rushed to where the blood lotuses were growing. In the blood lotus pond, 3 blood lotuses the size of bowls were already in full bloom. Each petal looked like it was carved from blood jade and emitted a refreshing fragrance. The essence of the blood pond had been completely absorbed by them, leaving only a pool of fragrant jade water. It was formed by the fallen leaves of the blood lotuses and had the effect of cleansing one's marrow and meridians. Zishang carried Yi Joga to the side of the pond and waved his sleeves. The 3 blood lotuses rose up and floated towards him. He opened the white jade box and put away 2 of them. He bit the last one. The fiery blood lotus was beautiful, but Zishang was even more beautiful with the blood lotus in his mouth. His eyes flashed with determination. He quickly took off Yi Joga's clothes and put her naked in the pond. He also quickly took off his clothes and covered her with his strong body. "What are you doing?" Yi Joga asked weakly. She was about to die, but Zishang still didn't let her go. He was too much of a beast. "To save you." Zishang lowered his head and pushed the blood lotus into Yi Joga's mouth with his tongue. The blood lotus melted the moment it entered Yi Joga's mouth. It tasted strange and cold, causing Yi Joga's body to tremble. Before she could get used to the feeling, she felt a sharp pain in her lower body. Yi Joga's eyes widened as he looked at Zishang in disbelief. Her first time, without any foreplay or sweet nothings, was taken away by Zishang, this beast. "Damn, what kind of technique is this? Do you know how to dual cultivate? What nonsense are you thinking? Do you still want to live?" Zishang had to hand it to Yi Joga. At a time of life and death, she could still think of such trivial things. "Can I live if I sleep with you? Don't tell me that stick of yours is condensed from the essence of life. Right now, I'm going to guide the inner core to help you reconstruct your dantian. Hurry up and chant the cultivation method to coordinate with me," Zishang said in an incomparably serious tone. His body coordinated with the cultivation method and began moving. 9 shallow and 1 deep. Waves of pure energy flowed directly into Yi Joga's injured dantian. Yi Joga's entire body went numb. She could clearly feel a pearl rolling around in her dantian along with Zishang's movements. The originally chaotic dantian began to clear up. Her meridians were reconstructed one by one. The scattered spiritual energy also began to reorganize. Yi Joga finally knew that Zishang was really saving her. She stared at Zishang's incomparably handsome face in a daze. Although they were doing the most intimate and shameful thing, his expression was incomparably solemn. He didn't seem to be enjoying it at all. Yi Joga's heart also gradually calmed down. She silently chanted the manifestation art to coordinate with Zishang's movements. Their bodies entangled in the blue water, stirring up surging waves. Zishang continuously used all kinds of techniques, not letting go of any gap in Yi Joga's movements. He was determined to completely heal her body from the inside out. Yi Joga's collapsed dantian was finally reconstructed under Zishang's efforts. Unfortunately, the originally clearly separated 9 layers of broken bones had all merged together, turning into a thumb-sized black ball that hung in the middle of the dantian like a black hole. "What should I do?" Yi Joga hugged Zishang's neck, her long legs firmly clamped around his waist. Zishang continuously circulated his energy, wanting to disperse the ball of poison. Unfortunately, it was of no use. "If you can't do it, let's do it next time. I can't take it anymore." Yi Joga's entire body was numb. Zishang's iron rod hadn't been ground into a needle. Her grassland was about to be flattened. "All right." Zishang saw that Yi Joga really couldn't take it anymore, so he could only retreat first. Yi Joga lost the support of the rod. She immediately slid down from Zishang's body and fell into the pool. Zishang hurriedly scooped her up, wrapped her in a clean cloth, and walked to the pool. How do you feel? Zishang asked worriedly. I'm all right. Yi Jiuge nodded. She really thought that she was going to die. Fortunately, Zishang was awesome enough to save her. Try to circulate your energy. Zishang's expression didn't relax at all. Yi Jiuge tried to circulate her energy, but found that her dantian was empty. The once full spiritual energy had disappeared. She immediately panicked. She hurriedly increased her strength, but there was still no reaction. What's going on? Where's my spiritual energy? Yi Jiuge nervously grabbed Zishang's hand. Looks like it still won't work. Zishang sighed. He had already tried his best to repair Yi Jiuge's dantian. However, the poison mixed with the 9 layers of broken bones had sucked away all the spiritual energy in her dantian. Then can I still cultivate in the future? Yi Jiuge wasn't afraid of temporary failure. She was afraid of becoming a cripple forever. The ball of poison in your body is now a bottomless pit. No matter how much spiritual energy you cultivate, it will all be devoured by it. Before you think of a solution, you have to cultivate the myriad bee spell to limit the development of this bottomless pit. Zishang said solemnly. Although this method didn't solve the problem, it was better than losing her life. Myriad bee spell, isn't that the cultivation method of the Yao clan? She was a genuine human. If she cultivated the cultivation method of the Yao clan, wouldn't she become a transvestite? That's right. The myriad bee spell is a body cultivation method. The strongest part of the Yao clan is their iron bones and copper skin. In your current situation, you can only cultivate the myriad bee spell to temper your muscles and bones, suppress the poison, and increase your defense. In order to increase his credibility, Zishang reached out and pinched Yi Jiuge's arm. It immediately turned red. Look, you're as weak as a baby now. However, if you cultivate the myriad bee spell, you'll be invulnerable, and you'll be impervious to fire and water, just like me. Zishang said as he took out a dagger and forcefully cut his arm to prove the huge difference between humans and Yao. Chapter 265. Yi Jiuge looked speechlessly at Zishang's undamaged arm and asked, Do you want to perform breaking rocks with your chest again? It's more like breaking your chest. Just tell me if you want to practice it or not. Zishang turned the dagger around and pointed it at Yi Jiuge. Cultivate. Yi Jiuge admitted defeat. She knew that her small body had no spiritual power to protect it. One poke, and she would die. It was safer to cultivate skin thicker. Wise move. Zishang put away the dagger and secretly sighed in relief. He was really afraid that Yi Jiuge wouldn't practice it. We'll talk about cultivation tomorrow. Let's go out first so they won't worry. Wait, where are the blood lotuses? Yi Jiuge looked at the empty pond and asked. There are 2 more. I already put them in your chinquan bag. Zishang helped Yi Jiuge put on her clothes and carried her. Yi Jiuge wrapped her arms around Zishang's neck and was finally relieved. Gong Shifan attacked bloodthirsty sect for the blood lotuses. He couldn't let them come for nothing. After Yi Jiuge went out, she found Yi Yu, Juni Qin, and Luo Tian guarding outside. She was a little embarrassed and struggled to get up. Zishang put her down, but his arms were still wrapped around her waist. Yi Jiuge was still a little weak and couldn't stand properly. She let him support her. Eldest miss, what's wrong? Yi Yu's handsome face was filled with worry. He knew that Yi Jiuge had always been strong. It wasn't her style to lean weakly in Yi Zi's arms. I'm fine. I'm just exhausted. Yi Jiuge shook her head. She didn't want others to know that she had no spiritual power. There were too many people who wanted to harm her. If they knew that she was a cripple, it would bring endless trouble. That's good. Yi Yu instantly sighed in relief. Juni Qin frowned. His intuition told him that it wasn't so simple. However, Yi Jiuge didn't want to say, so he didn't ask. Sorry, we didn't catch Si Yue. Yi Jiuge sighed. She disappointed Yi Yu. Incorp sect is not easy to deal with. It's good that you guys are fine. Yi Yu forced a smile and shook his head. Although he was sad, saving his sister was his business. He didn't have a right to let Yi Jiuge and Yi Zi risk their lives. Just as Yi Jiuge was about to comfort Yi Yu, He heard Xiao Tao's cheerful chirping coming from a distant passage. Following that, Bailey Mayun, Nangong Li, Gong Honglei, and the others also rushed over. When Yi Zhuge saw Gong Honglei, he immediately thought of something. Master Gong is still at the array core. Eldest Miss, don't worry. My third uncle has already woken up. Gong Honglei had already successfully removed the golden coffin from Gong Shifan's body. The solution was to use the blood key left behind by Gong Shifan. Before Gong Shifan went in, he was worried that something would happen, so he secretly left a blood essence key for Gong Honglei. Gong Honglei had saved Gong Shifan in time. Gong Shifan's injuries were not serious, but he was still a little weak and was resting outside. Then I'll go see him. With Zishang's support, Yi Zhuge arrived at the cave where Gong Shifan was resting. Although Gong Shifan's face was pale, he was still in good spirits. He asked Yi Zhuge, "Did young lady find the blood lotus?" "Yes, there are a total of 3 blood lotus. I just ate one to heal my injuries, so there are still 2 left." Yi Zhuge took out the 2 flowers from his cosmos bag and handed them to Gong Shifan. Everyone looked at them with envy. However, Yi Zhuge had found them himself. No one would say anything even if he ate all of them, let alone one. "I'll help you exchange this flower for Master Dongfang's Master Establishment Pill. This one is a purchase from a Gong family. You can name the price." Gong Shifan solemnly received the blood lotus. "We'll talk about this when we get back. Right now, the most important thing is to clean up the bloodthirsty sect's remnants and see what good things the bloodthirsty sect patriarch has collected." Yi Zhuge was not afraid that Gong Shifan would go back on his words. Yes. Let's hurry and find where the bloodthirsty sect patriarch's treasures are." The spiritualists immediately became excited when they heard that they were going to plunder the bloodthirsty sect's treasures. The bloodthirsty sect patriarch's cave is in the middle. The good things should be there. Yi Zhuge took out the map of the bloodthirsty sect and showed it to everyone. "All right, then let's go to the bloodthirsty sect patriarch's cave first." Gong Shifan nodded. Then, the spiritualists noisily rushed to the bloodthirsty sect patriarch's cave and rummaged through it. In the end, Yi Zhuge found the bloodthirsty sect's secret treasure vault with Zishang's reminder. Although the secret treasure vault was not big, it was filled with 5 large chests. Yi Zhuge casually opened one of the chests and immediately a spiritual light shone. The 5 chests were filled with spirit jades that the bloodthirsty sect patriarch had plundered over the years. Bailey Mayun and Nangong Li were not excited when they saw the spirit jades. They were core disciples and did not need to worry about resources. However, Su Sun Er, Xia Chenxi, and Sun Shufeng's eyes lit up. Although their daily rations were better than that of itinerant cultivators, it was still less than that of large clans. Such a large sum of money was definitely a windfall. "How about we split it evenly?" Yi Zhuge looked at Gong Shifan inquiringly. Gong Shifan was the leader. If he said to take these things back and confiscate them, no one could say anything. "All right," Gong Shifan nodded. He was not that greedy. Su Sun Er, Xia Chenxi, Sun Shufeng, and the others were overjoyed. They could already receive rewards and high contribution points from the Spiritualist Alliance for completing the mission. Now that they received this windfall, they had really struck it rich. The Spiritualist Alliance had a total of 15 people with Gong Shifan. Excluding the dead Xiao Xiaohua, the dead Lin Yanxi, the 2 spies Wang Haoqiang, and the injured Yuling Jun, there were 11 people left. Yi Zhuge's side had 5 people. If they split it evenly according to the number of people, each person would get 1,000 spirit jades. This was definitely a huge sum. Yuling Jun is one of us. We should give her some too. Gong Honglei was a loyal person. Although Yuling Jun was very hateful, he still felt that they should share some. The spiritualists looked left and right, but no one said anything. The main reason was that Yuling Jun was too hateful. She had not caused any trouble along the way and even caused Xiao Xiaohua to be killed. No one would sympathize with her. Honglei is right. Since we are all on the same team, everyone should have a share. However, she made a big mistake in this mission. It is not right for her to receive the same share. How about this? Everyone will share a piece of spirit jades. It can be considered as a token of our sincerity. Gong Shifan said calmly. Although he agreed to give Ling Jun some benefits, he wanted her to remember her mistakes forever. Donating money was definitely a good way to humiliate her. Master Gong is right. I will be the first to donate. Sun Shufeng was the first to take out his spirit jades. The people from the Spiritualist Alliance all donated, but Yi Jioga did not move. It was not that she was reluctant, but because she understood Yu Lingjuan's ungrateful personality. She did not want to waste this money. Everyone understood and didn't say anything. Chapter 266. After everyone donated their spiritual jades, Bailey Mayun waved his arms and said excitedly, "Let's go and continue the treasure hunt." The spiritualists roared and continued to search. Finally, Yi Jioga found another medicine room with Zishang's reminder. It was filled with rare spiritual herbs that the bloodthirsty ancestor had accumulated over the years. Among them, the blood refining method produced the most spiritual herbs. Although the spiritual herbs cultivated this way contained a lot of vitality, it required a special method to refine. There weren't many alchemists who knew about it, so the price fluctuated. "Miss Yi can choose first," Gong Shifan said matter-of-factly. "In that case, I won't stand on ceremony." Yi Jioga wasn't a pretentious person. She immediately put away the most precious blood-refining spiritual herbs. She happened to be the one who knew about it. "I'll give my share to Miss Tu." Bailey Moyun wasn't proficient in medicinal herbs and didn't care much about these things. "My share is also..." Next, Nangong Li Gong Honglei, Su Sun Air, Xia Chenxi, Sun Shufeng, and the others all gave up. The other spiritualists also pushed the boat to Yi Jioga. They had just received a lot of spiritual jades. These spiritual herbs were really nothing, so they might as well use them as a favor. Next, everyone searched the bloodthirsty sect according to the map, but they didn't find any valuable treasures. Everyone, search the bloodthirsty sect carefully again. "If there's nothing, destroy this place," Gong Shifan said. Although the big treasures were gone, there were still many small things. They would just treat it as a treasure hunt. Okay. The spiritualists all responded and split into several teams to search separately. Yi Jioga and Zishang were naturally a team. "No need to search. The valuable things are in the 2 secret rooms just now," Zishang said. "The bloodthirsty ancestor is too stingy." Although Yi Jioga got a lot of things, she still felt unsatisfied. "Then you've wronged him. The good things are all here." Zishang flipped his hand, and 2 black storage bags appeared. "When did you get them?" Yi Jioga asked in surprise. "I contributed the most, so I naturally have to take the best things." Zishang said this with no happy expression on his face. No matter how good something was, it couldn't compare to the damage Yi Jioga had suffered. "You're the best." Yi Jioga happily punched Zishang and snatched the storage bag. As soon as she opened the first one, she immediately burst into laughter. There was a neatly arranged row of spirit stones, a total of 100 pieces. Even though they were only low-tier spirit stones, a single one of them was worth more than 100 spirit jades. In total, that would be 10,000 spirit jades. He had really struck it rich. In addition to these spirit stones, there were also many rare medicinal herbs that were much more precious than those in the medicine storehouse. Yi Jioga then opened the second storage bag. There were only 2 brocade boxes inside. She opened it and saw that there were 2 spiritual weapons inside. A treasure. Yi Jioga's eyes shone. Although spirit stones and medicinal ingredients were very precious, they could not be compared to spirit tools. After all, spirit stones and medicinal herbs could be exchanged for with money, but good spirit tools could only be found if one was fated. Not to mention the fact that it was left behind by bloodthirsty ancestor, so it must be the best. "What's this?" Yi looked over curiously. In the first brocade box was a 3-inch-long knife. It was rusty, and the blade was stained with a bit of blood. It looked dirty and gave people an uncomfortable feeling, as if they were going to be swallowed by it if they looked at it for too long. In the second brocade box was a thumb-sized black seed. The golden patterns on it looked like a blooming lotus. It was obviously not an ordinary item. This is the evil knife. It has the ability to swallow blood and spiritual energy. You need to drip a drop of blood to open it. This is the flower spirit pearl. It's needed for spirits to transform. You humans don't need it. Zishang gave a brief introduction. Who wants this evil knife? Yi Joga already had the Thunder Snake illusion whip, so she did not need this evil knife. However, she had to keep the flower spirit pearl. It might be useful in the future. No. Junie Qin and Luo Tian shook their heads at the same time. Gu were their weapons. External objects were useless to them. I don't want it either. Yi Yu hurriedly shook his head. Although he was somewhat tempted by this evil knife, it was given to young mistress by Yi Zi. He would not dare to take it even if he ate a bear's heart or a leopard's gall. All right, I'll keep it for now. Yi Joga also felt that this knife was too evil. It was not suitable for Yi Yu and the others. She put away the evil knife and flower spirit pearl and prepared to split the spirit stones. Come. Each person gets 10 spirit stones. Those spirit jades are enough for us. You don't need to split the spirit stones with us. Junie Qin refused. Who would complain about having too much money? Just take it. Yi Joga had just taken out the spirit stones when she heard Junie Qin say, "Then I'll exchange all these spirit stones for cherry pills." Me too. Yi Yu and Luo Tian expressed their agreement. Forget it. Pretend I didn't say anything. Yi Joga immediately put the spirit stones back. If she exchanged all these spirit stones for cherry pills, her hand would be crippled from cultivating. It's getting late. Let's go. Zishang took the storage bag and left Blood Cloud Peak with Yi Joga. Not long after, Gong Shifan, Bailey Mayun, and the others walked out. They did not find any treasures along the way, but they found the bloodthirsty sect's evil blood cave. Looking at the piles of bones inside, the martial practitioners were very depressed. They had previously come to destroy the bloodthirsty sect only for the mission reward and Master Dongfang's master-building pills. Now that they saw those women who died tragically, they felt a heavy but accomplished sense of getting rid of the evil. Gong Honglei led people to sprinkle kerosene in every corner of the bloodthirsty sect. The flames surged and burned the sinful bloodthirsty sect to ashes. At night, everyone returned to camp and prepared to rest for a night before setting off. The victory bonfire was lit. The martial practitioners had a bountiful harvest and were all in high spirits. At first, they could be said to be a motley crew, not willing to submit to anyone. But after fighting side by side, their relationship became much better, and they developed a comrade-in-arms relationship. Yi Joga was naturally the most popular person. She used the excuse that she had not recovered from her injuries and did not go out to participate in their bonfire gathering, so everyone lined up to visit her. If not for Zishang's covetous gaze, Su Sun Air and the other female martial practitioners would have stayed to take care of Yi Joga. I'm fine, you don't have to worry. But did anyone go to take care of you, Ling Jun? Yi Joga was really not used to Su Sun Air and the others being so enthusiastic, so he could only divert their attention elsewhere. We want to take care of her, but it's a pity that others don't care. Su Sun Air sneered. She had always been straightforward and was on good terms with Yu Ling Jun in the past. Seeing that she was injured this time, she wanted to take care of her, but she did not expect to be scolded by her. She said that she was willing to lower herself to hug Yi Joga's thigh. Su Sun Air was furious. Yi Joga saved Yu Ling Jun from the bloodthirsty sect, but not only did she not thank him, she even scolded him. She really did not know what was good for her. Chapter 267. Although Qiao Xiaohua died and she became a cripple, it's normal for her to be unhappy, but scolding people is still too much. Xiao Chenxi was also dissatisfied with Yu Ling Jun. As expected, a pitiful person must have a hateful side. If it wasn't because I pitied her, I would have thrown her to the side of the road. Who cares if she lives or dies? Su Sun Air had a sharp tongue, but a soft heart. Although she wanted to teach Yu Ling Jun a lesson, she still delivered medicine to her. I saw her apply medicine yesterday. I'll give her some more later. Although Xiao Chenxi was calculative, she was still a good person. Miss Su and Miss Xia are indeed kind. Yi Joga admired them for this. That's why he showed mercy. Don't call us miss, just call us by our names. Su Sun Air and Xia Chenxi really wanted to build a good relationship with Yi Jioga. All right, if you don't mind, just call me Jioga. Yi Jioga didn't recommend making more friends. Su Sun Air and Xia Chenxi chatted for a while more. Seeing Yi Jioga's tired face, they tactfully bid farewell. After Yi Jioga sent away the passionate visitors, he asked Zi Yishang, "Where did Junichen and the others go?" "They went to the Holy Land." Yi Yu followed them. The three of them specially informed Zishang before leaving. "And let's go take a look." Yi Jioga was worried that something would happen to them. All right. Zishang brought Yi Jioga to the Holy Land of the blood-clothed tribe. Yi was guarding the door. Seeing her, he signaled them inside. Yi Jioga walked into the Holy Land and saw Junichen and Luo Tian staring blankly at the mottled wall that used to be filled with goo insects. In front of them was a burning stove, burning the ashes of the bloodthirsty ancestor to comfort the spirits of the tribe in heaven. Yi Jioga waited until Junichen and the others finished paying their respects before asking, "What do you plan to do next?" Junichen was confused. He had thought of killing the bloodthirsty ancestor countless times to revive the glory of the blood-clothed tribe, but now he felt a little tired. Si Yue was heavily injured by Yi Zi. "I'm afraid the corpse sect won't let this go. They might send people back to investigate. It's very dangerous for you to stay here." Yi Jioga truly treated the two as friends. He definitely didn't want to see them get hurt. "Eldest Miss is right." Yi nodded and added, "You guys go back with us first. You can come back when the situation is less tense." And Junichen nodded indifferently. There was no one left in the clan. It would be the same whenever they returned, so there was no hurry. After resting for a night, Gong Shifan led the group to continue their journey. However, they didn't return to the Thunder Country Shangjing, but took a detour to Bright Moon City. Bright Moon City was an inferior spirit city. There was a very large workshop inside that had everything one could need. Many spiritualists would come in to replenish their supplies when they passed by. This is the largest workshop in the vicinity. Our Gong family also has property here. We can send someone to send a letter to the Danyang sect and ask them to bring Yu Ling Jun back as soon as possible. Gong Shifan said. Yu Ling Jun had been throwing a tantrum along the way, and he was starting to get annoyed. He had to send her back to the Danyang sect as soon as possible. All right, Yi Jioga nodded. She also wanted to buy some medicinal ingredients to refine pills. If she wanted to use spiritual power with her broken body, she would need to use the vitality replenishing pill. After all the spiritualists entered the workshop to harvest, many of them came to bid farewell to Yi Jioga. They had already completed the Spiritualist Alliance's mission. They only needed Gong Shifan, the leader, to report to the Spiritualist Alliance, and their rewards and points would be sent to their door. Bailey Ma Yun and Nan Gong Li also came to bid farewell to Yi Jioga. "Jioga, if you go to the Limitless Sword Pavilion, you must come and see me and Xiao Tao," Bailey Ma Yun said to Yi Jioga. He felt that his biggest gain from this experiential learning was getting to know a good friend like Yi Jioga. Unfortunately, that Yi Zi was too fierce. He couldn't get close to Yi Jioga even if he wanted to. He had tried so hard, but the only thing he could do was to become more intimate with Yi Jioga. "Chirp, chirp, chirp. King, you must come and see me when you're free. Otherwise, I'll be bullied by his little clouded leopard." The ahog on Xiao Tao's head drooped down, making her look very weak. "All right, I'll thank the heavens if you don't bully other beasts." Yi Jioga patted Xiao Tao's little head. "I'm the boss. I have to bully my little brother." Xiao Tao revealed her true nature in just a few sentences. Yi Jioga smiled helplessly. Then, he said to Bailey Mayun, "You have to treat Xiao Tao well when you go back. Otherwise, she might abandon you." "Don't worry. I won't give her that chance." Bailey Moyun also patted Xiao Tao's head. The clouded leopard that he raised was still young. It hadn't fought alongside him yet. In comparison, Xiao Tao had gone through fire and water with him. She had saved him from danger several times. In terms of feelings, she already had an advantage. "Come to the Purple Cloud sect when you're free." Nangongli didn't say much. He directly gave Yi Jioga a bag of self-made talismans. Although they weren't very high grade, they were still worth quite a lot of money on the market. Some of the special talismans might not even be able to be bought with money. This is my gift. Please accept it. Bailey Moyen also gave Yi Jioga a gift. It was a small sword pellet. It contained his sword chi. Many thanks. Yi Jioga didn't decline. He accepted it straightforwardly and gave his own gift. 2 bags of cherry pills were enough for Xiao Tao and Xiao Ying to eat for a long time. After sending off Bailey Moyun and Nangong Li, Xia Chenxi, Sun Shufeng, and the others also came to bid farewell. Naturally, they also warmly invited Yi Jioga to visit them when he was free. Everyone exchanged gifts and went their separate ways. Su Sun Air came to find Yi Jioga alone. She once again requested to buy a goo worm from him. The mission is already completed. Why do you still want a goo worm? Yi Jioga couldn't understand. The more I understand about goo worms, the more I like them. Su Sun Air also didn't know what was going on with her. It was as if she was possessed. All right, I just happen to have a goo worm. See if you're fated with it. Yi Jioga took out a black worm egg and let Su Sun Air drip her blood on it. After the worm egg sucked the blood, it quickly turned into a cocoon. It was actually a little red-eyed rabbit. It had long ears and a round body. It looked extremely cute and didn't have any lethality. Su Sun Air looked at this rabbit goo. For some reason, her eyes suddenly turned red and tears flowed down. What's wrong with you? Even if you don't like it, you don't have to be so emotional. No, I like it very much. Once a big brother gave me a little rabbit. Later on, it was killed by someone. I have always regretted not being able to protect it. Su Sun Air's gloomy tone revealed a deep story. She wiped her tears and took out a bag of spirit jades for Yi Jioga. This is your reward. Many thanks. I will definitely treat it well. Chapter 268. Yi Jioga opened it and found that it was 1,000 spirit jades, which was equivalent to all the money she got from Bloodthirsty Sect. This money could buy a high-level spirit beast. Su Sun Air used this method to show her determination. Yi Jioga only took half of the spirit jades, returned the other half, and gave 10 bottles of cherry pills before sending Su Sun Air away. After Yi Jioga sent the Spiritualist Alliance people, Junie Chen also came to say goodbye to her. I heard that there are Miao people in Miao Zhang's 100,000 Mountains who are good at raising goo. I want to take a look. Junie Chen said. That was the origin of the blood-clothed Miao people. If he went there, he might be able to improve his goo technique. 100,000 Mountains are dangerous. You have to be careful. Yi Jioga did not persuade him. Going to the 100,000 Mountains was better than staying in the desolate Blood Cloud Peak. And if luck was good, there might be a great opportunity. Only I will go, Luo Tian will stay. Junie Chen said. Why? Yi Jioga looked at Luo Tian in shock. He was willing to leave his little master? Because I've already sold myself to you. Luo Tian smiled half-truthfully. You don't have to do this. Yi Jioga shook her head and said, if it is for the cherry pill, then I will teach you the pill recipe. You can practice with me for a few days. I guarantee you will master it. Yi Jioga's dantian was crippled. She did not know when it would recover. Luo Tian would not have a good future if he followed her. Is there something wrong with your body? Junie Chen had already noticed something was wrong with Yi Jioga. He just did not have the time to ask. Yes. Yi Jioga only said that she was heavily injured and could not use spirit energy, but did not say that she might become a cripple. Junie Chen instinctively felt that Yi Jioga was not telling the truth. He was silent for a moment, then suddenly said to Luo Tian, from today onwards, you are Yi Jioga's goo master. Luo Tian heard this. A complicated expression flashed in her eyes. Then she nodded heavily. Junie Chen's expression was solemn as he bit his index finger and dripped a drop of blood on Luo Tian's forehead. Luo Tian's eyes were closed, his body trembling violently, cold sweat dripping nonstop, as if he was enduring great pain. Then a small red worm emerged from Luo Tian's forehead, drilling into the wound on Junie Chen's finger. What are you doing? Yi Jioga was puzzled. Luo Tian is no longer a member of the Blood Cloak Miao tribe. Junie Chen said with an expressionless face. Every blood-clothed Miao clansman would be implanted with a blood-clothed Gu when they were born. In addition to allowing them to practice Gu better, it could also allow them to tame the clan leader. Earlier, Luo Tian said he would sell himself to Yi Jioga, but as long as the blood-cloak Gu was still in his body, he would be a blood-cloak clan member for the rest of his life. Juni Qin pulled out the blood-cloak Gu, and Luo Tian could sign a slave contract with Yi Jioga. Luo Tian's poisonous insect, Little Red, had an extraordinary aptitude. After it was freed from the suppression of the natal poisonous insect, it was highly likely that it would evolve into a new king of poisonous insects. And when Luo Tian acknowledged Yi Jioga as his master, Yi Jioga indirectly became the leader of a Gu sect. The relationship between them was very complicated. Juni Qin didn't say much. It all depended on Luo Tian and Yi Jioga's luck. Zishang saw all of this. He knew the value of this better than Yi Jioga. So he said decisively, since they are so sincere, then you should sign a slave contract with Luo Tian now. Yi Jioga signed a slave contract with Luo Tian in a daze, and still didn't understand changes. But she had never treated Luo Tian as a slave, so she didn't feel much about it. Let's go. I will teach you guys how to refine the cherry pill now. Yi Jioga asked for a pill refining room from the Gong family, and brought Juni Qin to buy the medicinal ingredients needed for pill refining. She was preparing to go into closed-door cultivation to refine pills, but Zishang pulled her back. Since you want to go into closed-door cultivation, then I will go out and see if there is any way to get rid of the poison in your dantian. You won't be gone for more than 10 years, right? Yi Jioga thought of her grandfather and was somewhat worried. You're thinking too much. At most, I will be back in half a month. Zishang's soul imprint was in Yi Jioga's hands. If he didn't come back to replenish it, he would be in danger. Go. Hearing that it would only be half a month, Yi Jioga relaxed. When I'm not here, don't slack off in your cultivation. Zishang really couldn't bear to leave Yi Jioga, but in order to save her, he had no other choice. Got it. I will diligently cultivate the 10,000 bees technique. Yi Jioga nodded perfunctorily and waved her hand, wanting to send Zishang away. Little heartless fellow. Zishang pulled Yi Jioga into his embrace and kissed her fiercely before leaving. Yi Jioga calmed herself down, then brought Juni Qin and Luo Tian into the pill refining room and started to refine pills in seclusion. In Yi Jioga's eyes, refining the cherry pill was actually a very simple matter, as long as the medicinal ingredients were placed into the pill furnace in order and the heat was controlled. But for those who didn't have any talent in alchemy, this was definitely a very troublesome matter. Forget it, I will not learn it. Help me refine half a year's worth of cherry pill. I will come and get it from you after I finish eating it. After Juni Qin refined another batch of pills, he was so desperate that he wanted to give up. Yi Jioga looked at the black pills in the pill furnace and couldn't say any comforting words. Although alchemy required the accumulation of experience, Juni Qin had refined 10 batches of pills consecutively without success, so he really didn't have any talent. Luo Tian, you try. Yi Jioga decided to change someone else. The moment Luo Tian started, she succeeded in 2 batches, which made Juni Qin feel even more hopeless and depressed. Actually, this pill isn't difficult to refine, but you have to pay attention to the heat when adding the vermilion fruit and Nepenthes grass. Luo Tian shared her experience. I know that I have to pay attention to the heat, but I can't grasp the feeling. Juni Qin shook his head. The feeling of refining pills was related to the attribute of the spirit root. He was a water spirit root and naturally had no feeling for things like heat. Luo Tian was a fire spirit root. Although it couldn't be compared to wood spirit root and fire spirit root, it was much better than his. Although Juni Qin had already given up, Yi Jioga didn't. She thought for 2 days and finally came up with a solution. She separated the medicinal ingredients of the cherry pill according to their medicinal properties and processed them into semi-finished products. The medicinal properties were the same, and the heat was the same, which greatly reduced the difficulty of refining. Then, she took out the 2 medicinal ingredients, the vermilion fruit and Nepenthes grass, and refine them into grass essence. This way, Juni-chin only needed to put these semi-finished products and grass essence into the pill furnace to refine them, and he wouldn't need to pay special attention to the heat to be able to form the pill. Although the cherry pill refined in this way was slightly inferior to Yi Jyoga's, this kind of idiotic refining method was something that even the most untalented of people could do. Juni-chin followed Yi Jyoga to learn this method of classification, and the success rate was indeed greatly increased. When his luck was good, he could succeed in 9 batches out of 10, which was simply a miracle for someone with water spirit root. Chapter 269. This way, no matter where you are, you don't have to worry about not having the cherry pill to eat. Yi Jyoga said happily. Thank you. Juni-chin was sincerely grateful. This cherry pill was very useful to goo refiners like them. With it, not only would the vital goo's advancement be easier, the blood cloak Miao tribe's glory would also be restored soon. There's no need for thanks between friends. Yi Jyoga patted Juni-chin's shoulder and asked, When do you plan to leave? Tomorrow. You don't need to send me off. Juni-chin had always been straightforward. He left immediately. Yi Jyoga woke up the next day and found his room empty. She was worried that Luo Tian would be sad, but she did not expect him to be fine, and even comforted Yi Jyoga. We will meet again if we are fated. You are right. Yi Jyoga calmed her emotions and continued her closed-door cultivation, waiting for Zishang to return. Myriad Beast Method was divided into 4 stages: skin, bone, flesh, and soul. When a method was mastered, one could transform into a demon. Spirit beasts and demonic beasts were nurtured by nature. They were the most suitable to cultivate this method. Humans had too many distracting thoughts. Their souls were complicated, and their bodies were weak. They could not cultivate this method. But after Yi Jyoga and Zishang dual cultivated, she obtained the nourishment of his inner core and could cultivate Myriad Beast Method with half the effort. In just a few days, she found the benefits. Her beast language was only elementary before, and she could only understand spirit beasts. But her spirit power was strong, and the clearer her thoughts, the easier it was to communicate. Normal animals did not have spirit power, so they could not communicate. But now, she was unobstructed and could even vaguely feel the thoughts of plants. She believed that as long as she continued cultivating, she would be able to communicate with plants one day. Other than the improvement in beast language, Yi Jyoga's appearance also changed. A phoenix feather flower vaguely appeared between her eyebrows, and her shoulder blades often itched. She used the crystal mirror to look and found that the skin of her shoulder blades had the shape of a red feather. Yi Jyoga was worried that she would cultivate into a demonic snake, but now it seemed that she was evolving towards a birdman. It was not bad to be able to fly. With this thought, she cultivated peacefully. 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. There were only 3 days left before Zishang returns. Yi Jyoga's cultivation of the 10,000 Bees secret art was very smooth, and the poison in his dantian was also well controlled. She was just about to work harder to refine the phoenix feather flower between her brows when Gong Honglei suddenly sent her a message, asking her to come out of seclusion immediately, saying that something big had happened to her family. Yi Jyoga was shocked. Could it be that the people from the Yin Corpse sect want to find trouble with Mother Qing and the others? As soon as she came out, she saw Gong Honglei anxiously waiting at the door. What happened to my family? Yi Jyoga quickly asked. I heard that Patriarch Ling Yun has taken a liking to your 4th sister and wants to take her as a disciple. Yi Yuxuan has already agreed. Gong Honglei had seen Yi Rui in Alchemy City and knew that she was a proud girl. There was no way she would agree to become Ancestor Ling Yun's disciple. What? Yi Jyoga was shocked. That old pervert ancestor spirit, Cloud, wouldn't even let a little girl off. There was also Yi Yuxuan. Was he crazy? He actually pushed Yi Rui into a pit of fire? In the past, when she saw him treating Yi Rui like a treasure, she thought that he would really treat her well. She didn't expect that he would treat her like a tool to sell for money. If she had known earlier, she would have brought Yi Rui along. Help me prepare a horse. I'm going back to Shanjing now. Yi Jyoga was no longer in the mood to cultivate. She could only hurry back to stop Yu Xuan from going crazy. This is already 3 days ago. You won't make it if you go back now. Why don't you wait for Dan Yang's sect to pick up Yu Lingjun and ask her? Gong Honglei calmly said. When will they arrive? Yi Zhuge asked. They should be here tonight. Gong Honglei replied. All right, I'll wait for them. Yi Zhuge clenched her fists. She planned to ask them when they arrived. At dusk, the people from Dan Yang's sect finally arrived, travel-worn. The leader was a man in his 30s. He wore cyan clothes and had a square face. He looked rather steady. His name was Su Jiwei, the head disciple of ancestor Lingyun. Gong Shifan brought Gong Honglei and Yi Zhuge to receive Su Jiwei's group. Master Gong, Master asked me to thank you on his behalf. Thank you for saving my junior sister. Su Jiwei calmly bowed to Gong Shifan. Nephew Su is too polite. However, if you want to thank someone, you should thank Miss Yi. She was the one who saved Miss Yu from ancestor Bloodthirsty's blood pool. Gong Shifan explained what had happened. He especially told them about how Yu Lingjun disobeyed orders and acted recklessly. Su Jiwei was very clear about Yu Lingjun's character. He smiled bitterly and cupped his fist to Yi Zhuge. Thank you for saving my life, Miss Yi. Junior sister should know her mistake now. It's a pity that junior brother Qiao was implicated by her. Yi Zhuge saw that Su Jiwei seemed reasonable, so he directly asked, I just received news that ancestor Lingyun has taken a fancy to my fourth sister, Yi Rui, and wants to take her as a disciple. Is that true? Su Jiwei's expression became a bit strange. He nodded and said, It is true. My sister still wants to. I'm afraid there's more to it. Please tell me in detail, senior brother Su. Yi Zhuge's eyes lit up. Well, Master heard that Miss Yi has an outstanding aptitude, so he wants to take her as a disciple. There's nothing to hide, Su Jiwei replied. However, his expression just now had already betrayed him. This matter was definitely not that simple. However, Yi Zhuge could also understand that Su Jiwei didn't dare speak ill of ancestor Lingyun in front of everyone. If he wanted to get information out of him, he would have to find another time. It was a pity that Zishang wasn't here. Otherwise, there wouldn't be these problems. Yi Zhuge's thoughts fluctuated, but he still calmly thanked Su Jiwei. It's getting late. Nephew Su, why don't you stay here for the night and leave tomorrow morning? Gong Shifan invited. Then I'll have to trouble you. Su Jiwei cupped his fists and said, I want to see junior sister first. That's what I should do. Gong Shifan nodded and then ordered Gong Honglei, who was standing next to him, take nephew Su to see Miss Yu. Big brother Su, please. Gong Honglei and Su Jiwei were old acquaintances. The two of them always got along well. As Su Jiwei walked, he pretended to chat casually. Gong Honglei said whatever was on his mind. Anyway, it was Yu Lingjun's fault, so he wasn't afraid to say it. Su Jiwei knew that Gong Honglei was a straightforward person. If he also said that it was junior sister's fault, it seemed that the matter wasn't far from the truth. The courtyard that Miss Yu lives in is in front. Gong Honglei pointed to the exquisite small courtyard in front. Su Jiwei saw that the small courtyard was decorated well and knew that the Gong family didn't mistreat junior sister. However, as soon as he walked into the courtyard, he heard the sound of a cup smashing. Do you think I'm dead? How dare you give me such rotten tea to drink? I want to drink Long Jing before the rain. Hurry and get it for me. Yu Lingjun's sharp voice came out. Chapter 270. Su Jiwei's expression changed when he heard Yu Lingjun scolding. The Gong family was not their Danyang sect. It was foolish for Yu Lingjun to throw a tantrum here. He quickly walked in and saw the floor covered in broken pieces. Yu Lingjun was screaming like a crazy woman on the bed. The servants who served her were all kneeling on the ground, trembling. Junior sister, what are you doing? Su Jiwei shouted in dissatisfaction. Yu Lingjun heard this voice and immediately raised her head. Seeing it was Su Jiwei, she immediately broke down and cried, Senior brother, sob sob sob, you're finally here. Su Jiwei saw her crying so miserably and couldn't bear to scold her. He slowly walked forward and said, Master received Master Gong's letter and immediately sent me to pick you up. How are your injuries? The Gong family is not good. They didn't give me the black flower bone healing ointment. They want me to become a cripple. Yu Lingjun looked at Gong Honglei with hatred. Yes, it's all our Gong family's fault. We can't get the black flower bone healing ointment for Miss Yu. Gong Honglei said coldly. Honglei, don't be angry. My junior sister was just agitated. Su Jiwei suddenly felt awkward. Even his master had to spend a lot of effort to get the black flower bone healing ointment. Yu Lingjun was not related to the Gong family. What right did she have to ask others to give her such a precious thing? Senior brother, you're still speaking up for him. Don't you know that he helped Yi Jioga bully me? If Yi Jioga hadn't whipped me, I wouldn't have run out and senior brother Qiao wouldn't have died. It's all Yi Jioga's fault. Senior brother, quickly kill her to avenge senior brother Qiao. Yu Lingjun shouted hysterically. Junior sister, what nonsense are you talking about? Su Jiwei frowned and looked at Yu Lingjun. He had already understood that the whipping was ordered by Gong Shifan, and every martial artist was punished. No one else ran except for her. Now that something happened to Yi Jioga, it was unreasonable no matter what. Senior brother Su, please try to persuade your junior sister. I'll be leaving first. Gong Honglei threw down these words and left. Eldest senior brother, you must kill them all to avenge me. Yu Lingjun's hair was disheveled and her expression was ferocious. Her voice was hoarse from shouting. Junior sister, you're tired. Take a break first. Su Jiwei sighed and tapped Yu Lingjun's sleeping acupoint. After she fell asleep, he began to check her wound. Her calves were tightly wrapped in white cloth, but the soles of her feet and calves were sunken. Su Jiwei reached out and touched it. It was all bones. He couldn't help but sigh in his heart. Even his master couldn't cure this kind of injury. Junior sister's leg was really crippled. Junior sister's personality was so arrogant. How could she take such a blow? He really didn't know what would happen in the future. Unfortunately, her master was currently infatuated with her beauty, so she was afraid that he wouldn't have the time to care about her. Su Jiwei was a little annoyed when he thought of this, so he got up and left the house. When he went out, he saw Gong Honglei waiting in the yard with a pot of wine in his hand. He smiled at him and said, Big brother Su, why don't you drink with me? When Su Jiwei saw Gong Honglei's posture, he knew that he was here for Yi Rui's news. Just now, it wasn't good to talk about the inside story in front of everyone. If they were to drink, he could reveal a thing or two. It could be considered as repaying them for taking care of junior sister. When the lanterns were lit, the Gong family had already lit the lanterns, illuminating the inside and outside like it was daytime. Yi Jioga anxiously paced back and forth in the house. From time to time, he would poke his head out to take a few glances, hoping that Gong Honglei would come back soon. Big miss, don't worry. Little Red is guarding over there. If there's any news, it will come back to report. Just as Luo Tian's voice fell, a spider shadow flew in through the window. How is it? Is Gong Honglei ready to come back? Yi Jioga asked Little Red. He has already walked out of the yard. Little Red replied with a squeaky voice. Then you guys go out first. Oh right, tell Yu to pack his things and be ready to leave at any time. Yi Jioga planned to leave as soon as he got the news. Luo Tian nodded and brought Little Red out. Not long later, Gong Honglei, who reeked of alcohol, entered the house. However, his expression was still sober. What did Su Jiwei say? Yi Jioga handed over a cup of hot tea. He said that your second sister is really not a good person. Gong Honglei took a sip of tea and told Luo Tian what he had gotten from Su Jiwei. It turned out that Yi Shanshan was very favored by the Lingyun ancestor and had already advanced to an advanced spiritualist with the help of medicinal pills. In order to please the Lingyun ancestor, she wanted Yi Rui to enter the Lingyun ancestor's sect and become a sister and a husband. The Lingyun ancestor was overjoyed when he heard this and immediately sent her to negotiate with Yi Yuxuan. Originally, Yi Yuxuan was unwilling. However, his cultivation stagnated and he couldn't advance, so Yi Shanshan proposed to exchange treasures for Yi Rui. The Lingyun ancestor was also very generous. He was actually willing to exchange the cosmic treasure herb pill. Yi Yuxuan agreed as soon as he heard this. The cosmic treasure herb pill was the Lingyun ancestor's treasure. It was the best pill to advance to an intermediate spiritualist. Many people in the Danyang sect coveted it. The reason why Su Jiwei pretended to be drunk and said this was because he was dissatisfied. He was the chief disciple of the Lingyun ancestor and his successor. He originally thought that the cosmic treasure herb pill would be left for him. He didn't expect the Lingyun ancestor to exchange it for a little girl. It was no wonder that he was depressed. Yi Yuxuan, Yi Jioga gritted his teeth. Yi Shanshan might be trash, but if Yi Yuxuan didn't agree, she wouldn't take Yi Rui away. At the end of the day, Yi Yuxuan was the worst. Back then, she should have ended his life with a single slash. Don't worry too much. Mo Yun and Ali happened to pass by the Danyang sect on their way back. I've already sent them a message to stop the people from the Danyang sect. However, you still have to talk to the Yi clan yourself. After all, Yi Yuxuan accepted the benefits from the Lingyun ancestor. If you don't return the benefits, it's useless even if you stop them, Gong Honglei said. Yi Rui was young, so it wasn't up to her to be sold. I'll go back now. I must make Yi Yuxuan spit out the cosmic treasure herb pill, Yi Jioga said. All right, I'll prepare a horse for you now. You don't have to be too anxious. Mo Yun and the others are fast, so they should be able to stop them. Even if they can't, the Gong clan will go to the Danyang sect for you. I'm sure the Lingyun ancestor won't make things difficult for us, Gong Honglei said. After all, the Gong clan still owed Yi Jioga a blood lotus. Thank you. Yi Jioga thanked him solemnly. The Gong clan had already exchanged the master-establishing pill for her. As for the blood lotus, she hadn't thought of what to exchange it for, so she still owed it. If Yi Rui was really sent to the Danyang sect, she would really have to ask the Gong clan for help. It's nothing. There's no need to thank me. It's nothing compared to the kindness you've done for the Gong clan. Gong Honglei waved his hand and went out to prepare the carriage. Chapter 271. Yi Jioga rode on the red-haired spirit horse that Gong Honglei had prepared and rushed back to Shanjing. She used 2.5 days to reach what was supposed to be a 3-day journey. When she returned, it was just in the afternoon. After she entered the city, she didn't even return to her own residence and went straight to the Yi residence. She didn't expect to find the atmosphere extremely strange when she entered the Yi residence. The servants were all panic-stricken, like birds startled by the mere twang of a bowstring. The old butler was also a loss. When he saw Yi Jioga, he asked with a confused expression, "Who are you?" After he asked, he immediately came back to his senses and hurriedly apologized in fear and trepidation. "This old servant deserves to die. I was really confused just now. Eldest miss, please forgive me. This old servant. All right, what happened in the residence? Where's Yi Yuxuan?" Yi Jioga impatiently interrupted the old butler's apology. "Master isn't at home. Madam just fell by the lake and miscarried," the old butler said with a trembling voice. "Su Yufeng miscarried?" Yi Jioga was shocked. She came looking for trouble and didn't expect to hear this news. "Yes, eldest miss, master hasn't returned yet. We don't know what to do. Eldest miss, please help." The old butler was desperate. "Have you invited a spirit doctor?" Yi Jioga quickly walked towards Su Yufeng's ink garden. "The spirit doctor has already seen and said that the child can't be saved. Madam's condition is also very critical. They want us to quickly invite master back," the butler hurriedly said. When Yi Jioga entered the ink garden, she smelled the pungent smell of blood. He saw Su Yufeng lying on the bed. Her face was pale, her lips purple, her breathing weak, and the blanket under her was covered with blood. A formed male fetus wrapped in white cloth was placed next to her. Su Yufeng's personal servant, Ji Hua, sat paralyzed on the ground. When she saw Yi Jioga come in, she didn't react at all. Yi Jioga went forward and lifted the white cloth to look at the male fetus. The fetus's facial features were very clear. The fetus's hair was thick, and he looked somewhat similar to Yi Yuxuan. He would probably grow up to be a handsome man. Unfortunately, his skin was purple and he wasn't breathing. There was nothing he could do. Yi Jioga couldn't help but sigh. Although she hated Su Yufeng, the child was innocent after all. It was really pitiful for her to die at birth. Yi Jioga covered the male fetus with a white cloth, then took out the Thunderfire needles and inserted them into Su Yufeng's Bai Wei, Taiyang, and Renzhong acupoints. Su Yufeng's body trembled. Before she opened her eyes, she murmured, "Child, my child." "The child was not saved," Yi Zhuge said. "What did you say?" Su Yufeng tried her best to open her eyes. She never expected that the person she saw would be Yi Zhuge. "Let the lady see the child." Yi Zhuge turned his head and said to Zhihua, "Yes." Zhihua finally came back to her senses and handed the dead male fetus to Su Yufeng. Su Yufeng wanted to touch her child, but she didn't even have the strength to lift her hand. She just kept crying. If you knew this would happen, you wouldn't have done it in the first place. Although Yi Zhuge sympathized with the child, he didn't feel the slightest bit of pity for Su Yufeng. "Yi Zhuge, I'm sorry for what happened in the past, but the child is innocent." Su Yufeng's face was pale, her eyes bloodshot, and her chest violently heaved. "What do you want to say?" Yi Zhuge calmly looked at Su Yufeng. No matter what hatred there was in the past, in the face of a dying person, it all disappeared. "The person who pushed me is that bitch, Mu Xianglan." Su Yufeng gasped for breath. Every word was spat out with all her strength. "Seventh concubine, Mu Xianglan pushed you?" Yi Zhuge could not help but raise his eyebrows. This news was somewhat unexpected to her. "It's her, please avenge my child." Su Yufeng's last breath could not be lifted. She died with her eyes wide open. Madam. Zhihua rushed forward and burst into tears. "Go to fragrant orchid courtyard." Yi Zhuge immediately stood up. This seventh concubine had been trying to please Yi Rui. She was not a good person. She just happened to be a good person. Yi Zhuge rushed to fragrant orchid courtyard with the old housekeeper and mother gone from the torture room. When he opened the courtyard door, he smelled a strong smell of blood, only to see the dead bodies on the ground. Their faces were full of horror. Heavens! The old housekeeper's legs went soft. He almost could not walk. Mother Gan also had goosebumps. She had served in the Yi mansion for so many years. She had never seen such a terrifying scene. Yi Zhuge's expression did not change. He stepped over the dead bodies in the courtyard and kicked open the door. The doors and windows were closed. The light was somewhat dim. He could vaguely see a red, clothed seventh concubine sitting on a chair. Her beautiful eyes slightly drooped. Her gorgeous face had a faint smile. It was as if she was welcoming a distinguished guest. "Mu Xianglan, you crazy fellow. Not only did you kill Madam, you even killed the servants who served you." The old housekeeper stood behind Yi Zhuge. He pointed at seventh concubine and scolded her. Seventh concubine did not move. She maintained a charming smile. It was just that this smile was extremely strange in this kind of atmosphere. Yi Zhuge felt that something was wrong. He went forward to check seventh concubine's breath. He found that she was no longer breathing. Could it be that seventh concubine committed suicide? The old housekeeper said with a trembling voice. "Impossible." Yi Zhuge shook his head. Seventh concubine was a shrewd woman. It was impossible for her to use such a clumsy method to harm Su Yufeng. It was even more impossible for her to commit suicide. "Young miss, there's a letter on the table." Mother Gan's sharp eyes saw a letter on the mahogany dressing table. Yi Zhuge picked it up. She was immediately shocked. In the letter, seventh concubine said that Su Yufeng had done many evil deeds. She deserved to die. Killing her was to uphold justice for the heavens. She also said that Yi Yuxuan was cruel and unscrupulous. He would not have a good ending. But what surprised Yi Zhuge the most was that seventh concubine was a spy sent by the Yin Corps sect. She stayed in Shangjing to find the treasure map and the Wei Cloud Sea. The entire letter was very messy. Rather than saying that she surrendered, it would be better to say that she was coerced. Yi Zhuge had guessed that her grandfather's disappearance was related to the treasure map. Now this letter proved her guess. What was on the treasure map? Why did the Yin Corps sect want it? Her thoughts were in a mess. She could not find an answer. She could not help but crumple the letter. "Young miss, what does the letter say?" The old housekeeper could not help but ask. "Nothing." Yi Zhuge calmed herself down and put the letter away. She began to carefully examine seventh concubine's cause of death. She found that her death was very strange. There were no external or internal injuries. She was not poisoned. She was simply brain dead. She had only seen this kind of situation with Xiao Xiaohua. At that time, Si Yue had used a secret technique to destroy Xiao Xiaohua's divine sense. This method was very clever. Even Yi Jioga could not see through it. Could it be that the Yin Corpse sect sent an expert to control seventh concubine? But spending this much effort to kill Su Yufeng and the servants in the courtyard, this was too strange. Chapter 272. Yi Jioga couldn't figure out the cause of her death. But today, she came to settle the score with Yi Yuxuan, not to solve the case. She told the old housekeeper to seal up the ink garden and fragrant orchid courtyard, then went to the hall to wait for Yi Yuxuan's return. At dusk, Yi Yuxuan finally rushed back. When he heard that Su Yufeng had died along with 2 children and that everyone in 7th Mistress's courtyard had died, he didn't rush to check. Instead, he pointed at Yi Jioga and scolded, "You jinx, as soon as you came back, you made my house restless. What are your intentions?" Yi Jioga knew that Yi Yuxuan would put the blame on her. She couldn't be bothered to talk about it, so she directly said, "I don't want to talk nonsense with you. Hand over the universe treasure her pill." "That's my pill. Why do you want me to hand it over?" Yi Yuxuan said fiercely. It wasn't easy for him to exchange for this pill. How could he hand it over? "That's the pill you got by selling your daughter. If you don't hand it over, I guarantee that your bad name will spread across the entire Kanglan continent. At that time, let's see if you still have the face to go out." Yi Jioga knew that Yi Yuxuan cared about his face and was most afraid of people talking about his shortcomings. "You dare?" Yi Yuxuan roared. "I dare to go to Blood Cloud Peak to kill bloodthirsty ancestor. What else do I not dare to do?" Yi Jioga's expression was cold, and her eyes were fierce. Yi Yuxuan's heart jumped. He had to admit that this daughter was getting more and more terrifying. He swallowed his saliva, then said with difficulty, "But I already ate the pill." "You ate it?" Yi Jioga frowned, opened her spirit eye to check Yi Yuxuan's body, and found that the spirit-dispersing pill had already dispersed. If Yi Yuxuan was obedient, he wouldn't be in danger before Yi Rui came of age. But he purposely used Yi Rui to exchange for the universe treasure herb pill, causing his death to come early. Right now, his chi was declining, and he was on the verge of death. "Jioga, I have no other choice. I don't know what happened, but my cultivation suddenly stagnated. I originally thought that eating the universe treasure herb pill would help me break through the bottleneck, but it didn't help at all. Jioga, you must have gained a lot from this trip to Blood Cloud Peak. You have to help me." Yi Yuxuan begged bitterly. "Take care." Yi Jioga couldn't save Yi Yuxuan. Since she couldn't get the heaven and earth treasured herb pill back, she could only ask the Gong family to help her ask ancestor Lingyan for her. Yi Jioga turned around to leave, but Yi Yuxuan roared, "Yi Jioga, don't forget that I'm your father. If you don't help me, then you're unfilial. If word of this gets out, everyone in the world will laugh at you." "Yi Yuxuan, I've already severed our relationship as father and daughter. From today onwards, my surname is Yun, not Yi," Yun Jioga said word by word. "My daughter, Yin said. Yi Yuxuan said furiously, "Don't forget that the plaque on your mansion is named Yi. That was given by Emperor Xian Wu himself. Do you want to go against the Dongfang family?" "Yi Emperor, Yi I family house family Yi and..." "That's right. That's why I advise you to obediently keep the signboard of the Yi Mansion. That way, it'll be easier to meet in the future." Ever since Yi Yuxuan found out that Yi Jioga was coming back to establish his own sect, he secretly gave Emperor Xian Wu a 3rd-grade Thunder Spirit pill and begged him to give Yi Jioga the Yi Residence's plaque. He was certain that Yi Jioga was on good terms with noble consort Shi and Dongfang Ke, so he was too embarrassed to disobey Emperor Xian Wu. What a good plan. It's a pity that you're going to die. We won't meet again. After Yun Jioga finished speaking, he turned around and left, leaving Yi Yuxuan's roar behind. When Yun Jioga returned to his mansion, he waved his hand and took down the Yi Mansion signboard. Mother Qing and Elder Hua received the news and came out. When they saw the situation, they were very surprised. "Miss, what are you doing?" Give this signboard to Yi Yuxuan. Yun Jioga threw the signboard and said, "From today onwards, we will change our name to Yun Manor." Really? Mother Qing was pleasantly surprised. She was originally a member of the Yun family, so she naturally hoped that eldest Miss could change her surname back to Yun. But this horizontal board was given by the emperor, Pearl said in a low voice. She was just an ordinary person, and the emperor was as unshakable as the sky to her. It's not up to Emperor Xian Wu to decide on my matters. Yun Jioga really didn't put Emperor Xian Wu in her eyes. Eldest Miss is really bold, Elder Ho praised, and then he carried out a black golden Nanmu signboard from the house. On it, there were two big words, Yun Manor, written in an iron pen and silver hook. It was the handwriting of Grandpa Yun Wei. Yi Yuxuan hated me because of this signboard. He caused me to lose all my power and almost died in the countryside, Elder Hui said with emotion. He risked his life to protect the old master's Yun Manor signboard, and it finally saw the light of day again. Then please help me put this signboard up, Elder Hua. Yun Jioga said. Okay. Elder Hua flew up with the signboard and carefully hung it up. The two big words, Yun Manor, shone with a dazzling light under the sun, and finally saw the glory of the past. That night, the Yun Manor was decorated with lanterns and streamers, and it was full of joy. On one hand, it was to celebrate Yun Jioga's triumphant return. On the other hand, it was to celebrate them completely getting rid of the shadow of the Yi family and to restore the glory of the Yun family. The news of Yun Jioga changing his surname and the signboard spread throughout Shangjing. The nobles in Shangjing all sent gifts to congratulate him. Even Emperor Xian Wu sent a generous gift, but he didn't mention that the signboard he sent had been replaced. Yun Jioga was in high spirits, but Yi Yuxuan was gloomy. He set up a mourning hall for Su Yufeng, but no one went to pay their respects. Ever since Su Junqing killed Old Master Su, the Su family had been completely defeated. A group of people rushed to sell their properties, and after that, they went their separate ways. They didn't dare stay in Shangjing, afraid that those who were killed by the bloodthirsty sect would come to seek revenge. Yi Yuxuan sent someone to the Danyang sect to deliver a letter to Yi Shanshan, but he didn't expect to receive another bad news. Yi Shanshan brought Yi Rui back to the Danyang sect, but they were attacked by unknown people. They were completely annihilated, and Yi Rui was nowhere to be found. Ancestor Lingyun was furious and sent people to chase after the heaven and earth treasure her pill. After learning that Yi Yuxuan had already taken it, he beat him up. Yi Yuxuan's vitality was already declining, and after being beaten up, he was bedridden. His life was already in danger. He sent someone to invite Yun Jioga, but Yun Jioga didn't want to see him at all. She was worried about Yi Rui. Bailey Mayun wrote to say that when he and Nan Gongli rushed to intercept the Danyang sect, they discovered that they had been killed by a sneak attack, and that the attacker was most likely someone from the demon sect. However, they hadn't found any clues as to which demon sect it was. Yun Jioga didn't expect that after destroying the bloodthirsty sect, a demon sect would appear. What sin did he commit to have to deal with these demons and ghosts? Chapter 273. Yi Rui was captured by the demon sect. Yun Jioga had no way to find her, so he could only ask Bailey Mayun to continue investigating. Bailey Mayun expressed that he would do his best to help. Eldest Miss, do you want me to investigate as well? Ever since Yunji was brought to the En Corpse sect by Su Junqing, you have been paying close attention to the demon sect. No need. Let's wait for Yi Zi to come back. Yi Jioga shook his head. She had a feeling that Zi Shang would definitely know something. Moreover, Seventh Aunt's death was strange. She believed that Zi Shang would definitely have a way to find clues. That night, it was the 15th day. Zi Shang returned as promised. Little Jioga, did you miss me? The first thing Zi Shang did when he returned was to hug Yi Jioga and kiss him. Yes, Yin Jioga said perfunctorily and told him about Yi Rui and Seventh Aunt. It seems that this Seventh Aunt is indeed strange. This sovereign will help you investigate. Zi Shang said with interest. Yunjoga brought Zishang to Seventh Ant's courtyard for a walk. He originally wanted to bring him to see Seventh Ant's corpse, but Zishang refused. No need. I already know what happened. What happened? Yunjoga asked. It was the demon sect's Black Fiend sect. Zishang said with certainty. Isn't the Black Fiend sect in the Demon Mountain thousands of miles away? Why would they come here? Yunjoga was confused. Even if the Black Fiend sect and Corpse sect had enmity, they wouldn't come all the way here to kill Seventh Ant, right? I noticed that there was a soul of the Black Fiend sect following your fourth sister. It seems that she became a disciple of that almighty being and successfully became a demon. Zishang saw that Yurui was bent on revenge and knew that the Black Fiend sect almighty being would definitely help her. As expected, now that Su Yufeng, Yi Shanshan, Seventh Ant, and Yi Yuxuan were all dead, it saved him a lot of effort. You mean that there was a demon beside fourth sister who helped her control Seventh Ant to kill Su Yufeng? Yunjoga suddenly understood. No wonder Seventh Ant would die so strangely. So it was because the demon controlled her sea of consciousness. That's right. Yi Yuxuan and Yi Shanshan were also killed by the demon. Zishang said with certainty. No. Fourth sister has such a dangerous demon by her side. Why didn't you tell me in advance? Yunjoga was very angry. That supreme expert wants to take your sister as his disciple. Her sister won't be any worse off if she follows him. You should worry about yourself first. The almighty of the Black Fiend sect had some relationship with Zishang, so he turned a blind eye and didn't tell Yunjoga. In that case, fourth sister's life won't be in danger? It wasn't that Yunjoga looked down on the demon sect, but it was fine as long as Yurui was fine. Of course, the Black Fiend sect's cultivation method is the best at preserving one's life. If she succeeds in becoming a demon, she will definitely live longer than you, Zishang said with certainty. When Yunjoga heard this, he really didn't know whether to be happy or sad. She let out a long sigh before she asked Zishang, Then have you found a way to heal my Dantian? I found it. The only way to get rid of the poison is to go to the Corpse sect and learn their Ghost Corpse control technique. Zishang said seriously. You want me to train in the Corpse sect? Are you joking? Yunjoga felt that Zishang must have gone mad. I'm not joking. Zishang looked at Yunjoga with a serious expression and said, Don't you think it's strange that those strange things always happen around you? You clearly haven't offended the bloodthirsty sect, but trouble always comes to you? Because I'm beautiful? Yunjoga always felt that her appearance wasn't a white lotus, but a blood lotus level. Being too beautiful was also a mistake. Seeing Yunjoga's narcissistic look, Zishang was silent for a moment before he reorganized his emotions and continued to brainwash her. Because you have this calamity in your life, that's why those troublesome things revolve around you. Originally, Zishang wanted to reveal some things about the daughter of the divine blood, but seeing Yunjoga like this, he felt that it was better to continue hiding it. When did you change your profession to fortune-telling? Calamity in her life? Bah, why didn't he say that she was the bane of all existence? Although there will be many hardships for you, there will be even more opportunities. Zishang ignored Yunjoga's supercilious look and continued to speak. If the eruption of the Dantian and not being able to cultivate is an opportunity, then I'll give it to you. Yunjoga didn't see any opportunities. She only saw herself being unlucky, you being unlucky, Yi Yunji being unlucky, and Yi Rui being unlucky. These troubles are all experiences. As long as you defeat them, you will obtain great benefits. For example, the 9-layer bone shattering poison in your Dantian. If you completely absorb it, you will be able to complete the body tempering technique. This is an opportunity that others can only dream of. When Zishang saw that Yunjoga's eyes were rolling wider and wider, he added confidently, It's your luck that you met me. I don't want this poison opportunity. I'll give it to whoever wants it. As for you, Yunjoga looked at Zishang and said reluctantly, You can stay and help me carry my shoes. Do you want to die? Zishang narrowed his eyes with a fierce look. This stupid girl dared to look down on him. She really needed to be taught a lesson. Whatever you say is useless. Anyway, I'm not going to the Corpse sect to cultivate. Even if she went to the Corpse sect, it would be to seek revenge. What was the point of becoming a disciple to cultivate? Was she going to help the Corpse sect harm people in the future? You have to go. First, Yi Yunji is there. If you want a treasure map, you have to go find her. Second, the people who harmed your grandfather are from the Corpse sect. If you want to investigate the truth, you have to go there. Third, your sister Yi Rui has already joined the Black Fiend sect. If you go to the Corpse sect, you could take care of her. Fourth, you are surrounded by bad luck. Wherever you go, you'll implicate others. Since that is the case, why not go to the evil sects to cause trouble? Zishang listed them one by one. Yun Jioga was actually speechless. But even so, she was determined not to go. Seeing that Yun Jioga was invulnerable, Zishang didn't say anything. The atmosphere became awkward. It was as if a dark cloud had appeared in the sky. Yun Jioga felt a bit uneasy. Zishang had been so busy for her. It was a bit too much for her to reject him so rudely. You must be tired after going out for so long. Is there anything you want to eat? I'll make it for you. Yun Jioga walked to Zishang's side and pulled on his sleeve, revealing a slightly flattering smile. Zishang didn't look at her and didn't say anything. It seemed that he was really angry. Yun Jioga thought about it, then scratched her face and said, I seem to have encountered some bottlenecks in my cultivation. Do you want to help me check? Zishang finally gave Yun Jioga a look. How do you want to check? Yun Jioga saw that Zishang finally had a reaction. She let out a breath in her heart and said in a small voice, You can check however you want. The hint was very strong. Chapter 274. Zishang narrowed his eyes and glanced at Yun Jioga. He didn't move. F***CK. Yun Jioga thought Zishang would immediately pounce on her. She hadn't expected him to be so patient. Had her charm deteriorated, or had someone else squeeze him dry? Yun Jioga's mood immediately turned sour when she thought of this. She was a domineering woman. It was fine when she wasn't with Zishang in the past, but now that he was hers, she would kill anyone who dared to touch him. Dual cultivation. Do you want to do it? Yun Jioga took off her outer robe and tossed it over Zishang's head. Her expression wasn't an invitation, but an order. If he dared to refuse, she would definitely chop him into pieces. Zishang was actually just teasing Yun Jioga. Seeing that she was already showing signs of anger, he immediately stopped while he was ahead. Let's do it. Zishang slowly took off his light purple robe, revealing a perfect, muscular body. His chest muscles were firm and powerful, his abs were well-defined, and his thighs were taut. Just looking at them would make one drool. The two didn't waste any words and quickly started practicing. Zishang wanted to see Yun Jioga's cultivation results, so he entered from behind. After moving for 49 times, he saw fine hair appear behind her shoulder blades. Although it wasn't very full, it was a huge improvement. Looks like you've been practicing well recently. Zishang brushed the faint red light on her back in satisfaction. Of course, Yun Jioga was very serious about her cultivation. Zishang flipped her over and circulated his energy face to face. He saw a clear phoenix feather flower appear between Yun Jioga's exquisite brows. It was an extremely enchanting red, beautiful beyond compare. How is it? When can I evolve into a birdman? Yun Jioga hugged Zishang's waist tightly, panting as she spoke. She hadn't done it in a long time, so she couldn't keep up with Zishang's pace. You want to be a demon? Zishang raised an eyebrow. He grabbed Yun Jioga's waist and leaned back, letting her sit on his waist. I'll consider it if I can fly. Yun Jioga didn't like this position. It was too tiring. She still preferred to lie down comfortably and practice martial arts. I promise I'll take you flying. Zishang was overjoyed when he saw that Yun Jioga didn't hate demons. He really wanted to kiss her. Unfortunately, he didn't dare to. He couldn't allow anything to go wrong in this dual cultivation. If he were to be aroused, the one suffering would be Yun Jioga. Yun Jioga did not know about Zishang's pain. After he lay down, he began to cultivate comfortably. After Yun Joga's dual cultivation ended, he felt that his dantian was indeed firmer. He had also reconciled with Zishang, and he was very satisfied. In the following days, Zishang no longer mentioned the matter of going to the En Corpse sect to cultivate, as if he had forgotten about it. Yun Joga felt comfortable, but at the same time, he also felt that something was wrong. He had a feeling that Zishang was holding back some evil move. But on second thought, as long as she insisted on not going, he couldn't do anything to her. It didn't take long for Yun Joga to figure out Zishang's plan. "Young miss, you don't look well recently. Are you too tired?" Mother Ching brought over a bowl of ginseng soup and looked at Yun Joga worriedly. No. Yun Joga felt that he had been feeling quite good recently. His cultivation had been quite smooth. Miss Four is a good person. You don't have to worry too much. Mother Ching felt that Mista should be worried about Miss Four. I know. Yi Rui had the protection of the Black Fiend sect, so her days were definitely better than hers. Mother Ching saw that Yun Joga really didn't care, so she continued to guess. Eldest miss, could it be that you were worried about Master's matter? Although he is seriously ill now, he deserves it. You must not be soft-hearted. I won't be soft-hearted. Yun Joga was very calm. Previously, the old housekeeper of the Yi mansion cried and begged her to save Yi Yuxuan. He even wanted to make a big deal out of it and used the pressure of public opinion to force her. In the end, he was taught a lesson by Zishang, and now he didn't dare to make a sound. That's good. Drink the ginseng tea while it's hot. Mother Ching watched Yun Joga drink the ginseng tea and then left with peace of mind. Yi Yuxuan won't live for more than 3 days. Zishang silently appeared behind Yun Joga. Yun Joga nodded without any sadness or joy on her face. Her scumbag father was about to leave, but she didn't feel relaxed in her heart. This was fate. Don't be sad. He doesn't deserve you to treat him well. Zishang comforted. I'm not sad. Yi Yuxuan was such a scumbag that even his own father couldn't cry. If you're not sad, then why is your face so ugly? Zishang frowned. Am I? Yun Joga picked up the crystal mirror and looked at herself. She felt that it was okay. It was just that her face was a little pale, her eyes were a little red, and her lips were a little purple. Are you blind? There's clearly a lot of difference. You used to look like this. Zishang touched the surface of Yun Joga's mirror, and her previous face appeared in the crystal mirror. She had bright eyes and white teeth, tender and beautiful like a flower. She was like a lotus that had just emerged from the water. She was naturally beautiful, fresh, and natural. After looking at the past, she looked at the present. Only then did Yun Joga realize that her face was pale, her eyes were red, and her lips were purple. She looked like a ghost. Although there was a decadent beauty, it was definitely not the appearance of a decent person. Why did I turn into a ghost? Yun Joga raised her head in fear. Zishang definitely knew the reason. This poison will gradually change your appearance, making you look like an abnormal person. This is the reason why you have to go to En Corpse sect. Zishang didn't force Yun Joga during this period of time because he was waiting for her here. What do you mean by not normal person? Could it be that I look like a ghost? You will know very soon. Zishang sneered. Who asked you to not listen to me before? How soon is very soon? Yun Joga asked again and again, but Zishang ignored her. Yun Joga laid down and slept gloomily. She would know how soon it would be the next morning. The crystal mirror reflected a deathly pale face. A bit of red seeped out from the corner of her eyes. Her pupils were extremely black, and her lips were dark purple. Red, black, and purple, these 4 colors appeared on her face at the same time. No matter how beautiful she was, she couldn't shout anymore. How did I become like this? Yun Joga was completely unable to accept that she had turned from a tender and beautiful white lotus into a devil flower. If you don't go to En Corpse sect, there will be more changes in the future. The reason why Zishang wanted Yun Joga to go to En Corpse sect was because the En Qi there could dissolve the poison in her dantian. During the process of converting the En Qi into spirit power, the 9-stage bone shatterer's poison would also temper her muscles and bones, achieving a double training effect. If they know that I am Yun Joga, they won't accept me. Yun Joga was still struggling. I made a fake identity for you in Daby Mountain to guarantee that you can smoothly enter Incorp's sect. Zishang had already prepared it. However, only Incorp's bone-controlling technique could be cultivated by Incorp's sect's direct disciples. Although it was easy to enter Incorp's sect, it was not easy to become an inner court direct disciple. They still had to work hard. Chapter 275. All right, when do we leave? Yun Joga accepted her fate. As soon as possible. Zishang was afraid that Yun Joga's poison would spread too quickly. Give me 10 days to prepare. She didn't know when she would return, so she had to make ample preparations. Also, Yi Yuxuan was about to die. She had to take back what belonged to the Yun family. Sure, by the way, you'll need a lot of herbs to soak your bones in the later stages of your cultivation. You can collect them now. Zishang gave Yun Joga a list. Yun Joga was a human after all. She wasn't as strong as a beast. She still needed some external herbs to aid her cultivation. All right, I'll ask the Gong family to help me collect them as payment for the Blood Lotus. Yun Joga had planned to ask the Gong family to help her find Yi Rui at the Dan Yang sect. She didn't need it now. She might as well exchange the favor for money so that the Gong family wouldn't talk about repayment every day. All right, Zishang nodded. Yun Joga definitely couldn't go out and meet people with this villain's face. If he wanted to restore his original appearance, he would have to take some elixirs that could replenish his essence, chi, and spirit. Fortunately, she had collected a lot of spirit herbs from the bloodthirsty sect. She hurriedly refined a batch of blood spirit pills and consumed them. Only then did she regain her original appearance. 3 days later, Yi Yuxuan was in critical condition. Yun Joga brought Mother Qing, Elder Hua, and the others to visit him. Yi Yuxuan lay on the bed, his cheeks dry and his eyes sunken. When he saw Yun Joga, he glared at her with bloodshot eyes and cursed viciously. Joga, I'm your father. How can you treat me like this? How can you face your mother in the underworld? Yun Joga stood on the bed and smiled sarcastically. Yi Yuxuan, when you traded fake pills for my mother's life-saving pills and took away the marrow cleansing and meridian cleansing pills my grandfather left for me, did you ever think about how to face my mother in the underworld? What nonsense are you talking about? Yi Yuxuan didn't expect the things he tried so hard to hide to be exposed. You poisoned my grandfather in order to steal the Yun family's business. Do you really think no one knows what you've done? Yun Joga's eyes were cold. I didn't. Yi Yuxuan gasped violently and shook his head frantically to deny it. My mother in the underworld must be regretting her lack of judgment back then. How could she have fallen for a heartless man like you? Yun Joga said word by word. Yi Yuxuan's eyes widened as he stared at Yun Joga's beautiful face. It was as if he'd seen Yun Jiao return from the underworld to claim his life. Jiao, I'm sorry. It's all my fault for being blinded by greed that harmed you. Please forgive me. Yi Yuxuan's eyes bulged as he reached out to grab Yun Joga's hand. Yun Joga took a step back to avoid him and said coldly, Go to hell and atone for your sins with my mother. Yi Yuxuan's chi and blood flowed in the opposite direction. His face was ashen and his hands drooped as he died in fear and regret. Yun Joga looked at him deeply, then walked out of the room. Mrs. Qing, Elder Hua, and others were waiting outside. They were a little worried when they saw her coming out. Prepare for his funeral. Yun Joga lowered his eyelids and said emotionlessly. Yi Yuxuan's funeral was very simple. He was buried without even setting up a mourning hall. Although Yun Joga had changed her surname, no one would object to her going back to take over everything from Yi Yuxuan. The Yin Residence's horizontal board replaced the Yi Residence and all the properties under its name. From then on, the Yi family no longer existed. After Yun Joga arranged everything, she released the news that she was heavily injured and was going to Miaojiang's 100,000 Mountains to find a life-saving opportunity. Wan Ziang and Bai Songling immediately came to ask if it was true. Dong Fangke did not come. He had gone to his grandfather's by residence and had not returned. Yun Joga received them and told them half-truthfully about her injuries. Next, she asked them to help take care of the Yun residence. She did not know when she would return. Yin, who only had Elder Hua, an advanced spiritualist, to protect him, so she was still a little worried. Wan Zhang, Bai Songling, and the others naturally agreed. The people outside were easy to deal with, but Yi Yu and Luo Tian were different. I can't tell you where I'm going. The matter of going to the corpse sect was too important, so Yun Jioga did not dare to tell them. When will you return? Yi Yu asked melancholically. I can't say for sure. Yun Jioga shook her head. The corpse sect was not that easy to sneak into. Even if she successfully sneaked in, she did not know how long it would take for her to cultivate their supreme technique to get rid of the 9 broken bones poisonous gas. Yi Yu and Luo Tian were silent. They did not blame the eldest miss for hiding it. They could only blame themselves for not being able to help her. Eldest miss, since you are not in the Thunder Nation, I want to return to the Yi family to continue cultivating. His cultivation was too low. He could not even go to the corpse sect to inquire about his sister, let alone help the eldest Mississippi. He had to become stronger. During this period of time, he tried to combine the Yi family's ancestral concealment technique with a mental cultivation method given by Yun Jioga. He cultivated a path unique to the Shadow Assassin. However, this mental cultivation method required a dark place of extreme Yin. Coincidentally, the Yi family had a dark place that was most suitable for cultivating the concealment technique. Thus, he wanted to go back and concentrate on cultivating. Okay. Yin Jioga nodded, then said to Luo Tian, what about you? I will wait here for you to come back. Luo Tian had already signed a slave contract with Yin Jioga, so he had to fulfill his duty. It's a waste of time waiting for me here. Why don't you go to the 100,000 Mountains to find Juni-chin and cover for me? Yin Jioga said that he had to leave some traces in the 100,000 Mountains. Okay. Since the eldest miss had instructed, Luo Tian naturally did as she said. Next, Yin Jioga began to pack his luggage and secretly collected Yin attribute materials. Yin pills were not popular in the Thunder Nation. There were very few Yin attribute materials. The more common ones were corpse stargrass and netherbone flower. Yin Jioga did not refuse anything. He collected everything he saw. After spending more than 500 spiritual jades, he managed to collect some. Next, the bone refining materials that the Gong family had collected for him arrived. They filled a storage bag, worth 5,000 spiritual jades. They were very sincere. In addition, Yin Jioga also refined many poisons and knockout drugs to protect himself. Without spiritual power, he could only rely on external items. The Thundersnake illusionary whip definitely could not be used, so he could only temporarily seal it. The pink little mother goo was still in the cocoon. He did not know how long it would take before it evolved, so he had to bring it with him. The Pippy mouse was still unconscious. It looked like it was going to sleep until the end of time. Yun Jioga listened to Zi Shang's instructions and stuffed the flower spirit pearl he obtained from the bloodthirsty sect into its mouth. He hoped that it would wake up soon and explain the mystery of learning the beast language. He could not tell anyone about going to the corpse sect, but he could tell the treasure-seeking scorpion. Yun Jioga's original intention was for the couple to find another master. After all, there was a certain risk in following her to the corpse sect. However, the treasure-seeking scorpion was determined to follow Yun Jioga to the ends of the earth. It was willing to hide in the bag every day. Seeing that the treasure-seeking scorpion was so sincere, Yun Jioga agreed to let it continue to follow them. The thing she prepared filled 3 storage bags. She could not bring this storage bag with her, so she could only let Zishang carry it. No matter what happened, Zishang would be by her side. Yun Jioga settled the inside and outside of the Yin residence. She asked Mother Qing and Elder Hua to look after the house. Then, she and Luo Tian quietly went to the 100,000 Mountains of Miaojiang. The two of them traveled for 10 days and arrived near the Dabi Mountains. Yin Jioga left a letter and left with Zishang. Chapter 276. Dabi Mountain, Demonic Wind Cave. Yun Jioga looked at the dark tomb and expressionlessly asked Zishang, "This is the method you came up with?" "That's right." Zishang nodded. It wasn't easy for him to find such an old tomb. "Do you think I look like a man?" Yun Jioga was speechless. She thought Zishang really came up with a good idea, but it was just a dirty trick. He said that she would pretend to be a youth that entered the cave by mistake, and he would pretend to be a 1,000-year-old corpse to pester her. This way, they could enter Corp's sect. Did he think Corp's sect people were stupid? No matter how flat her chest was, she was still a woman. Eat this illusion grass, and you'll become a man. Zishang took out a spirit grass that emitted moonlight. This is the illusion grass that can change one's appearance after eating it. Even a great spirit master can't see through it. Yin Joga heard that this grass was extinct and didn't expect Zishang to be able to find it. The spirit grass was milky white and only the size of a thumb. The hazy light it emitted was very strong. Looking at it for a long time would make one dizzy. That's right, try it. Zishang handed it to Yi Jioga. Yin Jioga swallowed the illusion grass. She didn't feel anything special, but when she looked in the mirror, she found that she had become very masculine. Her chest was flat and her throat was protruding. She was just short of growing a nipple. Her face was changed by the poison and was completely different from before. Adding on her gender, even Mother Qing wouldn't be able to recognize her if she stood in front of her. What about you? Yin Jioga looked at Zishang. Even if he didn't look human, he didn't look like a 1,000-year-old corpse. That's easy. Zishang's body flashed, and his appearance immediately changed. When he was a Yao, he had silver hair and purple eyes. When he was a human, he had black hair and black eyes. Now that he was a corpse, his body immediately emitted a thick death aura. His hair and eyes turned gray. His eyes were gray and extremely faint, looking especially eerie and strange without any emotion or humanity. A faint red appeared between his eyebrows. It looked like a drop of blood or a bloody eye. Looking at it made people tremble, but they couldn't help but look a few more times. Because Zishang, who had turned into a 1,000-year-old corpse, was still very beautiful. I say, can't you be a little more low-key? He was still so beautiful even after turning into an old corpse. He must have done it on purpose. I, the Supreme Overlord, am already very low profile. There is nothing that could be done about it. My appearance is too high. No matter how I try to lower it, I will still be more beautiful than a mortal. Yun Jioga was helpless against Zishang's shameless behavior. He could only ask, what should we do next? There's a corpse driver called Shirley near the Dabi Mountains. He's an outer sect disciple of the corpse sect. When he finds us, he'll naturally introduce you to the corpse sect. Zishang had already planned this. Although the corpse sect's requirements for accepting disciples were very low, it was not that easy to enter the core. With a recommender, he could save a lot of cultivation techniques. All right, Yin Jioga had no choice but to wait. Dabi Mountain, Blackwater Stronghold. There were only a dozen or so families in this stronghold, and all of them specialized in the business of driving corpses. The chief of the stronghold was called Shirley. During this period of time, the villagers often reported to Shirley that something always happened when they drove the zombies through the demonic wind cave. Many of the walking corpses would suddenly kneel on the ground and refuse to move. The demonic wind cave was famous for being a place with heavy energy within a radius of 100 miles. Shirley had explored this place before and discovered a very ancient tomb. There were many pits set up for the living in the surroundings. The owner of the tomb had already turned into a broken skeleton and was not suitable for refining corpses, so he did not pay attention to it. But now that such a strange thing had happened, something must have gone wrong. That night, after midnight, Shirley secretly went to the demonic wind cave. He saw that the energy at the entrance of the cave was black. When the wind blew past, it sounded like the wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves. A timid person would be scared to death. Shirley cautiously followed the tunnel into the tomb. The deeper he went, the thicker the death energy became. In the end, he discovered that it was as thick as ink. But amidst this thick aura of death, there was a faint fragrance. Shirley's eyes instantly lit up. This fragrance was the smell of a top-grade living corpse. Could there be a corpse king here? He instantly became extremely excited. After joining the corpse sect for so many years, he could only get the status of an outer sect steward. If he could really find a corpse king and present it to the sect master, he would definitely be promoted. Ian surely formed a seal with both hands and swiped between his eyebrows. He saw that his entire eye had turned black and was suffused with a faint glow. This was a unique technique that he had cultivated for many years, the corpse pupil. It was especially sharp when used to observe death energy. It was because of this that he became the outer sect steward of the corpse sect. In his pitch-black vision, a thick death energy was as conspicuous as a white light, guiding him to the depths of the tomb. He followed the white light to the coffin of the previous tomb owner and realized that the death energy was coming from below the coffin. Could there be another world under the coffin? Ian surely pushed the coffin open and realized that there was indeed a tunnel that led downwards, but it was something that he had not discovered previously. He walked straight down the tunnel and realized that there was actually another tomb underground. Moreover, it was more luxurious than the one above. It's actually a tomb within a tomb. No wonder he did not discover it previously. There was a bronze coffin in the middle of the tomb, and the death energy was extremely thick. It seemed like the corpse king should be inside. Ian Shirley's heart involuntarily jumped a few times. He took out a 7-inch black nail that was densely engraved with corpse-fixing incantations. It was an evil weapon that was specially used to deal with zombies. Ian Shirley took a deep breath and circulated his energy. After pushing the bronze coffin open, he ruthlessly hammered the nail into the coffin without even looking. A cry of pain came from inside the coffin. Ian Shirley was shocked. No matter how powerful the corpse king was, it was impossible for it to speak. There was actually a living person inside. He took 2 steps back and lit up the torch. His pupil technique also returned to its original state, and he saw a youth in black climbing out of the coffin. He looked like he was only 17 or 18 years old. He had deathly pale skin, light red eyes, and deep purple lips. He had a very strange sense of beauty, and under the light of the fire, he was even more dazzling. "Who are you? Why did you nail me?" Yun Jyoga looked at the ordinary-looking middle-aged uncle in front of him and questioned him fiercely. They had agreed to accept disciples, but why did they nail him? The people of the corpse sect were really too violent and unreasonable. "Sorry, little brother. I thought you were a corpse king, so I wanted to use the soul-suppressing nail to suppress you." Ian Shirley quickly returned to his senses and asked carefully, "Why is little brother here?" "I don't know either." Yun Jyoga held her forehead and pretended to be in a daze. She blurted out the lie that Zishang had made up for her. Her identity was Yun Jio, and she grew up in the Dabi Mountains. Her father died early, and she lived with her grandfather. Some time ago, she accidentally fell into the demonic wind tunnel while hunting, and when she woke up, she found herself lying in a coffin. Chapter 277. My grandfather must be very anxious in the mountains. "I have to go back," Yun Jyoga said as he climbed out of the coffin. "Is brother Yun Jio's grandfather known as the old hunter?" Ian Shirley asked Yun Jyoga with a strange expression. "How do you know my grandfather's name?" Yun Jyoga raised her eyebrows. She thought that Zishang had made up this identity. She didn't expect him to really exist. "Your grandfather passed away a few days ago. The people in your village pooled together some money and asked us to send him to his hometown for burial. This was the order that the Blackwind stronghold had received 10 days ago. It was said that the old hunter had left some money before he died and asked the villagers to help the Blackwind stronghold get rid of the corpse. He said that he wanted to return to his hometown to be buried with his wife, who had passed away decades ago. At that time, Ian Shirley had asked about the situation. He knew that the old hunter's grandson had died hunting in the mountains some time ago. Even the corpse had not been found. It seemed like it was this demonic youth in front of him. "My grandfather is dead." Yun Jyoga wanted to pretend to be grief-stricken, but his poisoned face couldn't show much emotion. His eyes only became wet. "My condolences, little brother." Ian Shirley sighed and said solemnly, "This tomb is very dangerous. Why don't you leave with me first?" Although Ian Shirley was the outer sect leader of the Ian Corpse sect, he wasn't a bloodthirsty person. He saw that this youth called Yun Jio looked like he had been poisoned, so he wanted to save his life. No, I can't leave here. Yun Jioga shook his head. His eyes were filled with fear. He will kill me. Who is he? Ian Shirley asked curiously. He is the most perverted, evil, and terrifying man in the world. Yun Jioga said as he glanced behind him. Damn, Zishang still hadn't shown up. She couldn't act anymore. A cold wind suddenly blew in the sealed tomb, bringing with it a faint fragrance. In the next second, Ian Shirley was sent flying by a huge force. Then he was grabbed by the neck and lifted into the air. He struggled with all his might and realized that a beautiful living corpse had appeared beside Yun Jioga. Smoke gray hair and pupils, with a smear of red between the eyebrows, made the eerie and terrifying tomb look like a painting. Ian Shirley was stunned. He even forgot that his life was in the hands of this walking corpse. Let go of him. Yun Jioga slapped Zishang's arm hard. Don't kill him. Zishang released his grip expressionlessly, and Ian Shirley fell to the ground. Big brother Ian, are you all right? Yun Jioga asked kindly. Cough, cough, cough. Ian Shirley coughed painfully for a long time. Then he looked at Zishang carefully and asked, Is this the terrifying man you were talking about? That's right. He was the one who captured me from demonic wind cave and locked me up here. As Yun Jioga spoke, he lifted his foot and kicked Zishang's, but leaving a large footprint on his clothes. Zishang was infuriated. Unfortunately, he was currently playing the role of a zombie. He couldn't have any expression, so he couldn't teach Yun Jioga a lesson. All he could do was secretly remember this grudge. I see. Ian Tenley instantly understood. The living corpse in front of him was most likely the legendary 1,000-year-old corpse. It was said that this kind of living corpse was agile and had a certain level of intelligence. It would choose a partner with sufficient yang energy to sign a contract with. This young man, Yun Jioga, was most likely chosen by him. Speaking of which, this young man called Yun Jioga was indeed very good-looking. He used to be a hunter, so his physique was probably not bad. No wonder this living corpse took a liking to him. Big brother Ian, please save me. He won't let me leave this tomb, and he's always sucking my blood. Yun Jioga touched his neck. There was probably a hole made by Zishang's teeth. He's already sucked your blood? Ian Tenley was shocked and asked solemnly, I have a very personal question. Although it's a little offensive, I hope little brother can answer it honestly. This is very likely related to your life. Big brother Ian, please speak. Yun Jioga replied seriously. Have you ever had any intimate physical contact with this Ian corpse? Ian Tenley asked solemnly. An unnatural expression appeared on Yun Jioga's pale face. It wasn't just intimate contact. He was basically forced to dual cultivate with Zishang every single night. Ian Tenley understood with one look. He let out a sigh and said, looking at little brother's expression, you should have already done it with him. Actually, I've heard before that after some Ian corpses become spirits, in order to pursue yang qi, other than sucking blood, they would also mix with each other. That's why you became like this. What you mean is that I became like this because of this Ian corpse. Yun Jioga found that Ian Tenley was really good at this. He didn't need to say much to help her think of a good reason. That's right. You've been poisoned by a very deep corpse poison. If you don't get rid of it in time, I'm afraid your life will be in danger. Ian Tenley wasn't just being an alarmist. He had been controlling corpses for so many years and had seen too many people die from the corpse poison. Then what should I do? Can't you help me subdue him? Yun Jioga asked. Little brother, this Ian corpse has already become a spirit. Moreover, you already have a blood contract with him. He has already recognized you, so I'm afraid I can't subdue him. Ian Tenley said with pity. He was also very envious of this living corpse. It was a pity that a living corpse with a blood contract had a strong possessiveness towards its contractor. Even if he killed Yun Jioga, he wouldn't be able to obtain this living corpse. Instead, he would be chased to the end. Then I can only wait for death like this. Yun Jioga shouted in her heart. Hurry up and introduce me to the Ian corpse sect. That's not it. There are so many cultivation techniques in this world, but there's a cultivation technique that can restrain Ian corpses. It is the cultivation technique of the corpse sect, one of the 5 great evil sections. Old Brother happens to be the outer sect steward of the corpse sect. If Little Brother wants to go, I can introduce you to the sect. As long as you learn our sect's profound cultivation technique, you will definitely be able to suppress the corpse poison and live for 100 years. Li was very confident in this. No matter what this little brother's talent was, just the fact that he had this kind of corpse meant that he was destined to be an amazing person. Corpse sect, that sounds too strange. Yoga acted as if she didn't understand the world and was very hesitant. Little brother, it's not that Old Brother is laughing at you, but I'm afraid that your current experience is even stranger than the corpse sect. Li bitterly laughed. Even in the corpse sect, it was very rare for someone to be raped by a 1,000-year-old monk and to be treated as a wife. Old Brother is right. Then please introduce me. Yoga acted as if he was trying everything in a desperate situation. If that's the case, then I will first teach Brother Yoga a method to control corpses. Bring this living corpse and follow me down the mountain. We can discuss this further. Li asked Yoga to drip a drop of blood on Zishang's forehead and communicate with him so that he would cooperate. Before Yoga came, he had also studied some cultivation techniques related to controlling corpses. He knew that Li's method was very correct, so he did as he was told. After Zishang sucked Yoga's blood, he put on an obedient look and obediently followed her down the mountain. Chapter 278. In the Black Wind Stronghold, there were very few people in the day, so the corpse controllers were all resting in their homes. In the middle of the stronghold was a green-tiled and red brick courtyard. This was the home of the stronghold master, Shirley. Brother Yunjio doesn't need to be polite, just treat it like your own home. Shirley warmly welcomed Yoga into his home. Yoga entered the courtyard and smelled a faint corpse aura coming from inside. "May, I'm back," Shirley shouted towards the house. The red wooden door opened, and a young woman wearing a red buffalo dress walked out. She was around 20 years old with an oval face and willow leaf-shaped eyebrows. She was very pretty, but her expression was wooden and her movements were a bit stiff. "This is my wife, May," Shirley introduced. Yoga's eyelids twitched. This May was clearly a corpse. Did this fellow have a necrophilia? Following that, a little corpse boy walked out of the house. He was around 5 years old and wore a tiger head hat and a red satin jacket. His eyebrows were very similar to May's, but his face and mouth were like Shirley's. One look and you could tell that he was their child. "This is my son, Huzi." Shirley kindly rubbed Huzi's head and said, "Come, say hello to Brother Yunjio." Huzi nodded his head in a daze. The tiger head hat slid forward, revealing the back of his head. Yoga's sharp eyes saw that the back of Huzi's head was a bit sunken, like it had been hit by something heavy. Huzi was too naughty when he was young. He accidentally fell into the mountain and smashed his head. May jumped down after him. I asked an expert to help me protect their corpses. Later on, I learned how to refine corpses and refine them into corpses. Our family is still together, Shirley said calmly. The corpse sect people refined corpses to increase their cultivation and help them in battle, but he refined corpses to reunite with his family. He never gave them orders and just raised them at home. In order to take care of his family, he applied to be a steward of the outer sect and set up the Blackwater Stronghold as a corpse controller. On the surface, it was to help those who died in a foreign land return to their homes. But if he found any good corpse refining materials, he would secretly take them and give them to the sect. Big Brother is really sentimental. Yoga looked at the family and was very touched. It turned out that not every heretic cultivator was a bad person. This surely wasn't bad. Although refining his dead wife and children into corpses and raising them in his home was perverted, it was still much better than Siyue and the bloodthirsty ancestor. That night, Shirley personally cooked a sumptuous dinner for Yoga. He arranged for them to sleep in the small room at the back. In the dead of the night, Yoga was sleeping soundly when Zishang jumped onto the bed and pulled at her clothes. Are you crazy? This is Ian Shirley's house. He's sleeping next door. Yin Joga slapped Zishang's claws away. Although Ian Shirley had refined his wife into a Ian corpse, he didn't use her as a wife. Instead, he let her live in the same house as his son. She wouldn't fool around even if she was a proper husband and wife. Zishang was too much of a beast. Even if he turned into a 1,000-year-old corpse, he wouldn't let her off. It's precisely because he's next door that I want to dual cultivate. Otherwise, how could he believe that I signed a contract with you? Besides, if we don't dual cultivate, your poison will soon take effect. Zishang confidently took off Yin Joga's pants and then slapped her butt. This stinky girl dared to kick him today. She was looking for a beating. Damn you. Yin Joga had no choice but to cooperate with Zishang. The two of them quickly joined together. It was still the position of the woman on top and the man on the bottom. This wooden bed was very thin. Even a slight movement would make an ee sound. The two of them, one on the top and the other on the bottom, shook the wooden bed until it almost fell apart. Even a dead person wouldn't know what they were doing. Yin Joga thought of Ian Shirley being woken up by them in the next room and felt extremely ashamed. What are you thinking about? Focus on cultivating. Zishang had a serious expression on his face as he reprimanded her. Fuck, a 1,000-year-old teacher like you doesn't even care about face. Elder sister will also go all out. Yin Juga also hardened her heart. She didn't think about the large bed that was about to collapse. She focused on cultivating with Zishang. The yee sounds passed through the thin walls and entered Ian Shirley's ears. He couldn't help but feel that the 1,000-year-old corpse was indeed too ferocious. How could Yin Joga's small body withstand it? It was better to quickly send him to the sect to cultivate. The earlier he cultivated, the earlier he could get used to this rhythm of being suppressed. After all, he would be suppressed for a lifetime. As Ian Shirley thought about this, he went to the next room to look at his wife and child who were lying stiffly on the bed. His emotions calmed down. He loved his wife and child very much. Sometimes, he would also have the impulse of a man. However, he knew very well that his wife was already dead. What was left was only her physical body. His wife had always been very particular about the pleasures of the bedroom. She would never allow him to use her body as a tool. Ian Shirley respected and loved her. Hence, when the people in the sect spoke nonsense, she never quibbled or did anything about it. Speaking of which, he used to admire that 1,000-year-old corpse. He was indeed very valiant. He had just woken up from the ancient tomb, and he immediately kidnapped a man from a good family. He even forced himself on her. He was gay. It would be great if his wife could also cultivate to become a demon and force herself on him. As Ian Shirley thought about this, he gently kissed his wife and child. Then, he covered himself with a blanket and fell asleep. Zishang's words were ferocious, but his actions were actually very gentle. After practicing with Yin Joga for one cycle, he stopped and gently hugged her in his arms. Yin Joga exhaled a breath of white mist. She lay in Zishang's arms without moving. Ever since the poisonous gas spread, her body always felt cold. Only by hugging Zishang's warm body could she sleep well. Aren't snakes cold-blooded animals? Why are you so warm? Yin Joga stuffed her cold feet into Zishang's thighs. How many times have I told you, this noble one is not a snake? Zishang placed Yin Joga's cold feet in his arms and rubbed them. If you're not a snake, then what are you? Yin Joga had also asked Zishang this question countless times. You wouldn't understand even if I told you. Unfortunately, Zishang always avoided it. He wouldn't say it even if he was beaten to death. This, Yin Joga snorted in disdain. After she felt that her feet had warmed up, she fell asleep peacefully. She could always sleep peacefully by Zishang's side. Anyway, even if the sky collapsed, Zishang would be there to hold it up. When she slept until dawn, Ian Shirley had already woken up early to cook. Little brother, did you sleep well last night? Ian Shirley acted as if he didn't know what happened last night. He still asked very enthusiastically. It was all right. Yin Joga sat down calmly. Zishang naturally stuck closely to her side, looking very possessive. Ever since Ian Shirley defined Zishang as a 1,000-year-old corpse with an extremely strong possessive desire, he had perfectly implemented the 3 words possessive desire. He was the perfect embodiment of the word possessiveness, sticking to Yun Joga's side at all times. Chapter 279. Yun Jioga could tell that this was probably one of the reasons why Zishang wanted her to go to Corpse Sect. In the past, he was either sleeping in the imprint or kept a low profile when she asked him to. He probably couldn't hold it in anymore. Now that he found a chance to be by her side openly, he was probably bubbling with happiness. Ian Shirley looked at Zishang and sighed in his heart again. A 1,000-year-old corpse was indeed different. Its actions were like a living person. Apart from the lack of life and vitality, it was no different from a real person. It would definitely shock people when she went to Corpse Sect. Brother Yunjio, there are 10 days left before Corpse Sect accepts disciples. Take this token and you can directly participate in the entrance trial. As long as there are no accidents, it won't be a problem for you to enter the outer sect. Ian Shirley took out a black token with a skull carved on it from his bosom. This token was a good thing. Not only could it prevent Yunjioga from being questioned and harassed by Corpse Sect, it also gave her a 90% chance to directly enter the outer sect as a disciple. Thank you, Brother Ian. Yunjioga took the token and felt that she already had half a foot in Corpse Sect. We will be in the same sect in the future. When you become rich, don't forget me, Ian Shirley said with a smile. He thought very highly of Yunjio. Of course. Yunjioga had a good impression of this Ian Shirley. Brother Yunjio, although you are talented in corpse control and have such a powerful 1,000-year-old corpse by your side, it won't be difficult for you to enter the inner sect. However, I still suggest that you don't let him out when you participate in the outer sect selection. It'll be better to start as an outer sect disciple. This was Ian Shirley's experience. Although Yunjio had a 1,000-year-old corpse, he didn't have any cultivation and was poisoned. If he attracted the jealousy of others, they might want to kill him before he matured. Okay, I'll listen to Brother Ian. Yunjioga originally planned to start as a low-level disciple. She entered Corpse Sect with her identity hidden. It wasn't good for her to be in the limelight. Starting as an outer sect disciple was also a good way to find out the ins and outs of Corpse Sect. She really wanted to know how Su Junqing was doing in Corpse Sect and whose disciple Si Yue was. Speaking of which, Zishang had beaten the demon corpse and Si Yue half to death last time. He wondered if they had successfully returned to the Ian Corpse Sect. It would have been great if they had died on the way. Yunjioga's wish was beautiful, but it was a pity that reality did not go as he wished. Although the Ian corpse had lost 2 arms and his cultivation had dropped, he still successfully brought Si Yue back to the Ian Corpse Sect's enemy mountain, outside Cho Sen's cave. Third disciple Jin Yanwei stared in shock at the demon corpse with its broken arms and the unconscious Si Yue on the ground. This demon corpse was a top-quality Ian corpse that his master had carefully refined for many years. Although it was only an intermediate soul master, its body was made of iron, and it had a high resistance to spiritual energy, so it was very powerful. He didn't expect that he would be injured to this extent. There was also Si Yue. Although she wasn't Master's direct disciple, she had benefited greatly from Master's charm techniques. His cultivation was not high, but his ability to control corpses was extremely strong, and he was especially good at escaping. Even if he could wake up, he would be a cripple. Jin Yanwei was both shocked and angry in his heart. He very much wanted to immediately rush to Blood Cloud Peak to investigate what exactly was going on, but he did not dare to. The demon corpse and Si Yue were both beaten like this. He would just be sending himself to his death if he went. AI, why did this happen when his master was bringing his big apprentice brother and second apprentice sister out to visit friends? Jin Yanwei was very anxious. His master had sent Si Yue to deal with the Blood Cloud Peak matter because he didn't want this matter to be exposed. After all, secretly cultivating the Blood Lotus was not allowed by the sect. If this spread out, other than being punished by the sect, the people from the Spirit Practitioner Alliance would not let this go. But he couldn't just leave it like this. At this time, he suddenly thought of something. A few days ago, there was a man named Su Junxing who entered the outer sect with Si Yoyue's token. Perhaps he knew something. Jin Yanwei immediately called over a young disciple and had him go to the outer sect to find Su Junxing. The young disciple quickly came back and reported, "Senior apprentice brother Jin, Su Junxing is no longer in the outer sect." Then where did he go? Jin Yanwei was shocked. Did he run away? I heard that Su Junxing was recognized by Elder Mo Hua and was accepted as an inner sect disciple. The young disciple said with a look of disdain. Elder Mo Hua was from the He Huan sect before, but after coming to the Incorp sect, he still did not change his lecherous nature. He liked to accept young and handsome men as his disciples. Although he was a disciple, he was actually a male pet. Elder Mo Hua. Jin Yanwei immediately knit his brows. Si Yue had always looked up to Elder Mo Hua, so the men she brought to the Incorp sect must be the type that use their looks. No wonder Elder Mo Hua liked him. Senior apprentice brother Jin, what do we do now? The young disciple asked. All right, you can go. I'll personally go to Elder Mo Hua's place. Jin Yanwei was Cho Sen's third direct disciple, so he had a higher status than Su Junxing, who was a male pet. But Su Junxing was currently favored by Elder Mo Hua, so him personally going over was also giving Elder Mo Hua face. Jin Yanwei personally went to Ink Flower Peak, but he heard that Su Junxing was in closed-door cultivation refining his Incorps. Didn't junior apprentice brother Su just enter the sect a few days ago? How did he find his own Incorps? Jin Yanwei asked the disciple guarding the gate in surprise. Incorps sect disciples were very particular about refining their Incorpses. Not only did they have to match their own 5 elements, they also had to have a special ability to use the Incorps to its fullest potential. Many disciples couldn't find a suitable corpse even after entering the sect for several years, so they would rather not refine it. This Su Junxing wouldn't be randomly refining it in order to quickly master his cultivation technique, right? Senior apprentice brother Su brought a Yin Spirit Dao body woman that matches his 5 elements. The Ink Flower Peak disciple said in an envious voice. He still hadn't found a suitable Incorps for himself. This brat is quite lucky, Jin Yanwei muttered and then said to the disciple, when junior apprentice brother Su comes out, let me know. He didn't have time to guard this place. He had to first report the situation of Blood Cloud Peak to his master. Jin Yanwei quickly left, but he didn't know that Su Junxing had just finished refining. He was already at the gate, but after hearing his words, he turned back. Su Junxing turned his head to look at the beautiful red-clothed Incorps sitting next to him. His palm gently stroked her white and tender skin, his eyes filled with a crazy love. Yinji, the first time I saw you, I knew that you were my destined woman. Sure enough, you and I are a match made in heaven. I know that Yu is your only family and you've always loved him. Wait for me to find him and let him be your companion. All right? Chapter 280. Yi Yunji sat there woodenly. Her pair of beautiful eyes had long lost the light of life. When Su Junxing brought Yi Yunji to Incorp's sect, he did not expect her to have a Yin Spirit Dao body. Yi Yu and Yi Yunji were biological siblings. He also had a red mole between his eyebrows, and his talent was better than Yi Yunji's. Maybe he also had a special physique. If he could also refine him into a Incorps, he would definitely have a place in Incorp sect. This way, he would not have to worry about Elder Mo Hua getting tired of him and not having a backer. Su Junxing thought of the glorious days in the future and became excited, wishing he could immediately capture Yi Yu. But he quickly suppressed this thought. From Jin Yanwei's tone, CUS seemed to have encountered something big, and he was afraid it would implicate him. In another 10 days, Incorp sect would widely accept disciples. At that time, he and Elder Mo Hua would take an errand and hide for a while. 10 days later, Incorp sect would open their doors and start accepting disciples. Every year at this time, Incorp sect would choose disciples. The threshold to enter was very low. One only needed to be able to recognize words and chant the corpse controlling arts. Compared to the righteous sects that looked at talent, spirit roots, and bloodline, this threshold was terrifyingly low. But if a righteous sect accepted 100 disciples, at least 89 of them would successfully survive in the sect. Even if they died, most of them would die outside. In Encorp's sect, it was the opposite. Out of 1,000 disciples, at most 90 would survive, the rest would die in the sect's battles. It could be imagined how cruel the competition was. Shirley had specially told Yin-Joga about this. A merciful person could not become a disciple of an evil sect. Yin-Joga expressed her understanding. As a righteous person, she disguised herself as a corpse-poisoned youth to enter the demonic sect. If she met those vicious people, she would naturally kill them if she could, getting rid of a scourge for the people. Yin-Joga followed Shirley's directions to the foot of Encorp's sect and saw a large crowd of people crowding there to register. Damn, was being an evil cultivator so popular these days? This area of 1,000 miles is Encorp's sect's territory. If you want to cultivate, you can only come here. Zishang followed Yin-Joga invisibly and transmitted his voice. Yin-Joga thought of a saying, barren mountains and unruly rivers produce unruly people. This Encorp's sect was surrounded by deep mountains and forests with very little fertile land. The commoners probably did not have a good life. When the days really couldn't go on, there was no other way out but to become an evil cultivator. In the center of the crowd was a circle of blood-red tables and chairs. Behind them stood 4 men and 4 women. They were registering the people who had come to register. There was a red form on each table. Those who wanted to sign up had to fill in their names, ages, places of origin, spiritual roots, and other information. Finally, they would sign their names and leave their blood stamp on it. The Encorp sect can use this blood mark to verify whether your information is true or not. Yin-Joga didn't need to fill in the form. He just needed to drip his blood on the token that Shirley had given him. She took the token and walked directly to the blood-red table. Behind the table stood a woman in her early 30s. Other than the Encorp sect skeleton mark on her chest, there was also a small black flower, which meant that she was Elder Mo Hua's disciple. Her eyebrows were slender, and the corners of her eyes were raised. There was a black mole under her eye. She could be considered pretty, but she didn't look very decent. Blackwater strongholds, Shirley recommended me. Yin-Joga handed over the token. The female disciple took the token and glanced at it. Then, she looked at Yin-Joga. Her gaze looked like she was raping her. This was the first time in Yin-Joga's life that a woman looked at her. However, her poisoned face didn't show any expression. What's the name of this handsome little man? The female disciple's eyes were curved, and she smiled very lewdly. This handsome little man was really not bad. Just looking at him made one's heart itch. Yin-Jio. Yin-Joga replied calmly. Yin-Jio, is it? Take this token and walk straight in. That's the place where the outer sect disciples test. When the female disciple returned the token to Yin-Joga, she even used her pinky to hook Yin-Joga's palm. She said ambiguously, if you don't pass, come back and find Big Sister. Big Sister will think of a way for you. Yin-Joga took the token expressionlessly. Then, she walked along the path at the side and walked inside. After walking for a long time, she could still feel the female disciple's gaze following her like a shadow. It was as if she wanted to eat her up. Little Joga is very popular. Zishang was still gloating at the side. This is the reason why you wanted me to pretend to be a man, right? Yin-Joga had already experienced the degree of openness between men and women in the Encorp sect from the female disciple just now. If the female disciple was already so thirsty, then there was no need to say about the male disciple. If she entered as a female, she would probably be surrounded by perverts. All of them would want to sleep with her. That's right. Zishang admitted very straightforwardly. Seeing Yin-Joga being teased by the demonic woman was very interesting. However, if she was teased by the demonic man, he was afraid that he would not be able to control himself and kill her. You win. Yin-Joga was also convinced by Zishang. When Yunjoga arrived at the outer sect disciples test field, she saw that there were already many people standing on the empty ground. There were about 100 people. There were men, women, old and young. Many of them were wearing strange clothes. With one look, she could tell that they were not good people. When they saw her enter, many people looked at her with obscure gazes. Even among these strange people, her bewitching appearance was very outstanding. "Big sister, did that guy eat something wrong? Why is he so handsome?" A lively and cute voice sounded. Yunjoga turned her head and saw a pair of beautiful twin sisters standing there. Although they only looked to be 15 or 16 years old, they were already quite charming. The older sister was called Lu Meier. She wore a dark red dress and had a beautiful appearance, faintly revealing her charm. The younger sister was called Lu Tianair. She wore a light yellow dress and had the same appearance as the older sister. However, she appeared to be innocent and cute. The one who spoke just now was the younger sister. "If little sister likes him, then let's go get to know him." Lu Meier also smiled and brought Lu Tianair over to Yunjoga. Yunjoga, however, directly avoided them. She felt that she must have had some bad luck this year. Why were there women who liked her everywhere? She was clearly avoiding them and did not give the two sisters any face. They were immediately put on the spot. "Big sister, does he hate us?" Lu Tianair was suddenly on the verge of tears and looked pitifully at Lu Meier. "Probably because he looks down on us vulgar people." Lu Meier also sighed. When the two sisters put on this appearance, a few pursuers immediately wanted to stand up for them. "Hey kid, what do you mean?" An arrogant and despotic short man walked toward Yunjoga and said arrogantly, "If you know what's good for you, then apologize to little sister Lu Clan. Otherwise, I will beat you until you lie down." Yunjoga instantly felt that everyone was staring at her. If she showed weakness here, she would immediately be drowned by the wolves. This was the survival law of the evil sections. Chapter 281. Although Yunjoga had already lost her spiritual power, these three hooligans were still not a problem. She flicked her finger, and the colorless and odorless black wind powder floated onto the short, strong man's body. The short, strong man's body trembled, and he knelt on the ground in fear. "What did you do to me?" The short, strong man desperately scratched the itch, leaving red marks on his arm, but he did not feel anything. "Nothing. I just gave you some itching powder. If there is no antidote, you will probably die from the itch." Yunjoga said expressionlessly. "Lord, this lowly one had eyes, but did not recognize Mount Tai. Please spare my dog life." The short, strong man was also flexible and immediately begged for mercy while crying. The surrounding people all looked at this, and the unfriendly gazes immediately decreased a lot. The Lu sisters were even more speechless. Fighting could use cultivation, but going against a poison master was courting death. Yunjoga saw that the deterrent effect had been achieved, so she flicked her finger and sprinkled the antidote and said, "Scram." "Thank you, Lord." The short, strong man immediately ran away in fear. Yunjoga continued to wait. Some of the more sophisticated people and the surrounding people wanted to come up and greet her, but they were all coldly rejected by her. She came here to secretly learn, so there was no need to be friendly with them. After the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, a youth wearing a black inner sect disciple robe finally walked out from the inner sect mountain path. He was very handsome and had an amiable smile on his face, making people feel happy at first glance. Yunjoga's heart tightened when she saw this person. Su Junqing. She did not expect him to be in charge of the outer sect disciple test. One must know that accepting a disciple was a very important matter. Even evil cultivator sects would send their most trusted disciple to be in charge. Su Junqing had only been in the Encorp sect for a long time, but he was able to take over this kind of work. This meant that he was doing very well here. "Everyone, I am Su Junqing, in charge of this outer sect disciple test. This test topic is bone picking." Su Junqing said a few words, then directly announced the content of the test. The content of the test was very simple. It was to go to the mass grave and find a skeleton that they thought had the most spirituality. The stronger the spirituality of the skeleton they found, the better the treatment they would receive in the sect in the future. Other than corpse control, our corpse sect also has all kinds of puppet techniques. Among them, refining bones is the most common. Bones are the foundation of the human body. First learn the bone refining technique, then you can refine corpses. Picking bones is also a very common practice for corpse sect outer disciples, so everyone must work hard. Su Junxing kindly explained. Senior, none of us have learned the art of looking at bones. How do we know which skeleton has spirituality? Lu Tiana blinked her big watery eyes with a face of ignorance. I will give you a bone measuring talisman. As long as you stick it on the bones you like, you will be able to test the spirit force contained in the bones. However, this talisman can only be used once, so everyone must be careful when using it. Su Junxing said with a smile. Yun Joga immediately understood the purpose of this test. This was encouraging everyone to snatch their opponent's bone measuring talismans. The more talismans he snatched, the higher his chances of finding a spiritual skeleton. Even if it was stolen, there was no need to be afraid. Just bring back a random skeleton. If you guessed correctly, it proved that your luck was not bad, that you had good fortune, and that you were worth nurturing. This test was killing many birds with one stone. Everyone line up and come get your talismans. Su Junxing gave out the bone measuring talismans one by one. Yun Joga expressionlessly took the bone measuring talismans, ignoring Su Junxing's glance. When the Lu sisters received the talismans, they faintly gave Su Junxing a flirtatious look. He tacitly accepted it. When everyone received the talismans, they immediately spread out and looked at the people next to them with vigilance and greed in their eyes. Big sister, the mass grave is very gloomy. I'm scared. Lu Tianer pulled Lu Meier's sleeve and pitifully said, Don't be afraid. You'll get used to it. Lu Meier comforted her little sister, but her face was a bit pale. Beauties, don't be afraid. I'll protect you. The short man who was drugged by Yun Jioga immediately came forward. Then there were a few men who were interested in the Lu sisters, fighting to be the flower protectors. A group of men protected the two sisters, majestically walking towards the mass grave. Yun Jioga looked at them and chose the opposite direction. She had just revealed her poison attack, so no one dared to have any ideas about her talismans. She also had no interest in stealing from others. Yun Jioga directly arrived at the mass grave. Although the sun was still hanging in the sky, the mass grave was filled with energy. Gray fog shrouded the sky. The ground was filled with eerie white bones, and one could even see ghost flames floating in the air. There aren't any spiritual corpses outside. We have to go inside. Zishang said in Yun Jioga's ear. Then let's go. Yun Jioga just wanted to find a random set of corpses to complete her task. The fog in the depths of the mass grave was even thicker, completely blocking out the sunlight, and a cold and damp air rose from the ground. Yun Jioga was originally a bit afraid of the cold, and now she felt like she was soaking in ice water. She ate 2 warm yang pills, and only then did she feel a bit better. Bear with it a bit more. You'll be fine after you practice the corpse sex cultivation method. Zishang comforted from aside. Corpse sect mainly controlled corpses, but the energy of the corpses was too thick, and the corrosive power was very strong after being together for a long time. Corpse sex cultivation method was to convert the energy into spiritual energy, reducing the damage to the body, and it was very suitable for Yun Jioga's current situation. I'm fine. Yun Jioga was used to the cold. What she was not used to was that her dantian was now empty, and without spiritual energy, she could not open her spiritual eye. It was very difficult to find corpses with spiritual energy just by relying on that talisman. It was easy to rely on Zishang, but Yun Jioga did not want to rely on him until the very last moment, so she decided to try it herself. The white bones on the ground were very messy, and Yun Jioga did not find a complete set of bones after walking one round, but she was not willing to dig up the grave. At this moment, the treasure-seeking scorpion suddenly popped out from Zishang's bag and called out to Yun Jioga, Master, there's a treasure. What treasure? Yin Joga looked at the treasure-seeking scorpion in surprise and almost forgot about it. I smell a very fragrant smell. The treasure-seeking scorpion jumped down impatiently. It circled around the mass grave with its fat tail needle and finally stopped in front of a withered old locust tree. The old locust tree was very big, and it needed 3 people to encircle it. The leaves were withered, and the branches were grayish-white, as though it was half dead. The treasure-seeking scorpion circled around the old locust tree a few times and then burrowed into the ground. After a moment, it popped out and said with certainty, "The treasure is underneath. Dig it." Yin Joga looked at Zishang. She did not have any spiritual energy and did not have any tools, so she could only rely on Zishang for this kind of hard work. Zishang did not refuse and half squatted on the ground and placed his palm under the big locust tree. The brown soil, along with the broken bones, retreated to the side and revealed an incomparably thick grayish-white tree root, which looked like a small coffin. Chapter 282. Zishang's fingernails extended and cut a hole on the tree root. Grain chi spewed out, and fog filled the air. Yin Joga waved his palm to get rid of the fog, and saw that the yin chi in the center of the tree root was as thick as water. A small gray corpse was curled up inside like a baby. It looked like a 3 or 4-year-old child. Although its bones were like a human's, its head was like a monkey's. Profound yin white bone monkey. Zishang raised his eyebrows and looked at Yin Juga in admiration. "You're really lucky. This profound yin white bone monkey is condensed from extreme yin energy. If you refine it into a puppet and keep it by your side, it will be extremely beneficial for cultivating the yin corpse sex cultivation method." Yin Joga was currently in the outer sect. It was not suitable for a 1,000-year-old corpse like him to appear in front of people. Having a profound yin white bone monkey puppet by his side would be of great help to him. "Fat Scorpion, good job." Yin Joga happily rewarded treasure-seeking Scorpion with 2 bottles of cherry pills. This fat Scorpion was always very helpful at crucial times. Zhi. Treasure-seeking Scorpion happily hugged the 2 bottles of cherry pills and climbed back into the cloth bag to find his wife. Yin Joga wanted to stick the bone-testing talisman on the monkey bone, but was stopped by Zishang. This talisman has Su Junqing's divine sense on it. If he finds anything good, he will know immediately. Su Junqing is really despicable, testing to become an outer sect disciple and still wants to get some benefits. "I look down on him," Yin Joga muttered as she put away the profound yin white bone monkey. Then, she randomly found a white skeleton that looked good and stuck the bone-testing talisman on it. The red bone-testing talisman flashed with a faint white light. This meant that although this skeleton contained spiritual energy, it was very little. But no matter what, she had completed her mission. Yin Joga brought the skeleton back and found that most of the other people had arrived. The Lu sisters stood at the very front. The flower protectors from before had already disappeared. They had probably become part of the mass grave. It seemed that these 2 sisters were not as naive as they looked. They should have some ability. After all, in a place like the Yin Corpse sect, one could not obtain everything by selling one's body. Other than the flower protectors, there were still a dozen or so people missing. Currently, there were only 80 or so people left. The competition between the evil sects was cruel and fierce. Yin Joga secretly sized up the Lu sisters. He saw that their clothes were clean and they were in high spirits. They didn't look like they had just fought. He didn't know how they had killed those flower protectors. The white bones placed in front of the 2 sisters were very complete. The bones were pure white, and one could tell at a glance that it was rich in spiritual energy. Yin Joga silently placed the skeleton he had picked up on the table and waited for Su Junqing to inspect it. After Su Junqing swept out with his spiritual consciousness, he suddenly felt a little disappointed. Among these skeletons, only the bones brought back by the Lu sisters were filled with spiritual power. The others weren't high-grade goods. He had heard that there was a senior who was in charge of this test, and a disciple found a skeleton with profound spiritual power. Later, it was discovered that the disciple was born with dark pupils. That senior martial brother not only picked a good seedling for his mountain peak, but also obtained a good skeleton. It was really a big profit. He had heard of this matter, so he asked Elder Mo Hua for this task. He didn't expect that the harvest this time was really not that good. When Su Junqing thought of this, he couldn't help but glance at the Lu sisters and Yun Jioga. He thought to himself, this pair of sisters is not bad. I can develop them. And that youth called Yunjio, Elder Mo Hua, should like this kind of appearance. Unfortunately, he's too young and looks like a virgin. He probably won't be able to satisfy Elder Mo Hua's desires. It's better to nurture him first. Yun Jioga stood on the spot expressionlessly. Although Su Junqing's pimping gaze was hidden, she still noticed it. If it wasn't for the fact that the situation wasn't right, she really wanted to rush up and break his teeth so that she could interrogate him about Yi Yunji's whereabouts. Calm down. Zishan's voice came from beside her. This Corpse sect was after all a big, evil sect. If she gave herself away, she could forget about staying here. Yun Jioga was also very clear about this. She lowered her face and didn't look at Su Junqing anymore. The skeletons that everyone picked are not bad. The most outstanding are the two Lu sisters, and next is Yun Jio's. After Su Junqing made his evaluation, he put all the skeletons into his own pocket. These talismans were all provided by the sect, so the spoils of war naturally belonged to the sect as well. It could be considered as one of the benefits for the disciples in charge of recruiting. The Lu sisters were ranked first, so they received a bottle of energy pills as a reward. Yun Jioga received half a bottle, and the rest were counted by pills. After the rewards were distributed, many people's gazes turned to the Lu sisters and Yun Jioga. They were filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. Yun Jioga chose to ignore them. After the Lu sisters thanked Su Junqing sweetly, they surrounded him and asked all sorts of questions to get close to him. It could be seen that Su Junqing was very fond of the two sisters. His smile was especially gentle and amiable. However, he was here to receive the outer sect disciples after all, so he didn't stick to the Lu sisters for too long. Soon, he talked about official business again. Congratulations on becoming the outer sect disciples of our Corpse sect. This is your identity token. Everyone, drip your blood on it and make it your master later. Make sure to keep it safe. This not only represents your identity, but it will also be very useful in the future. Later, everyone will follow the map on this booklet and go to the logistics department to receive your benefits before finding a place to stay. Su Junqing gave everyone a palm-sized gray token and a yellow booklet. After saying a few words of encouragement, he left. Yun Jioga let out a sigh of relief. This test was easier than she had imagined. It was all thanks to Shirley. Yun Jioga opened the booklet and carefully looked through it. She had a preliminary understanding of the Corpse sect situation. The Corpse sect was built on a mountain range filled with energy. It extended for dozens of miles. The inner sect was divided into 4 mountain peaks. Other than the main peak, the Corpse peak, which was occupied by the sect master, the 3 elders each stood on a mountain peak. They were respectively Elder Cho Sen's Enemy Peak, Elder Inkflower's Ink Flower Peak, Elder Whitebone's White Bone Peak. The outer sect had 6 small mountain peaks. The main peak was where the Skill Teaching Hall, Mission Hall, Medicinal Pill Pavilion, and Weapon Refining Pavilion were located. The other 5 mountain peaks each had 1,000 disciples. They were arranged according to their numbers. Yun Jioga was assigned to the 2nd mountain peak. She followed the map on the booklet to the 2nd mountain peak, where the logistics department was distributed. She received the standard of an inner sect disciple. The Corpse sect was worthy of being a large sect. Every disciple had a red storage bag, a set of gray disciple robes. There were 2 runes embroidered on the door, cleaning and deodorizing. A low-grade 1 white bone spike. A low-grade 1 corpse control bell. A basic entry cultivation technique. The storage bag space was very small. It was only the size of a cabinet. but it was already very good for a new disciple. The white bone spikes were 2 wide and 3 feet long. They were sharp and could be considered a good weapon. The corpse control bell was gray. Compared to the blood-chi bell of the bloodthirsty ancestor, it was simply trash. It could just barely control the white bone spikes. It was still a bit difficult to use it to control corpses. Chapter 283. Yoga took the things and went to the small bungalow that the outer sect disciples lived in. The bungalow was quite big, but there were only old tables and chairs and a moldy smell. Yoga was quite satisfied with this. She was worried that she would have to share a room with a group of male disciples. Coincidentally, the Lu sisters lived next to Yoga, and they even squeezed into the same bungalow. At this moment, the door of their room was closed, and there was no sound. Who knew what they were doing inside? What's with that look? It's like a pervert who covets beauties. Zishang teased Yoga. TCH, if sister wants to covet someone, it's a pretty boy, okay? Yoga retracted her gaze from the Lu sisters' door. Pretty boy, are you talking about that? Zishang's gaze floated to the right. A fat boy walked out of the bungalow on the right. He wore the outer sect disciples' gray robes tightly, and his body was round like a ball. May I ask for senior brother's name? My name is Lin. We will be neighbors in the future. Please give me some pointers, senior brother. Little fatty Lin grinned. There were 2 deep dimples on his chubby face, making him look very likable. Yoga ignored little fatty's greeting and closed the door with a bang. You're too rude. Zishang noticed that Yoga was becoming more and more antisocial after being poisoned. If you're polite, then go greet him. Yoga's image was cold and antisocial, rejecting all the corpse sect disciples' attempts to rope him in. Zishang was speechless, not to mention that he couldn't show himself. Even if he did, he would be an expressionless living corpse that couldn't speak. Greeting him was impossible. All right, during the outer sect test, I don't think I saw this little fatty. Yoga asked Zishang. She knew that Zishang was very good at recognizing people and never relied on looks. Indeed not. Zishang nodded. So he was selected from the outside? Yoga thought about the people that filled the mountains and valleys to register. This little fatty was able to pass the selection so quickly. It seemed like he wasn't a normal person. There was one more person worth paying attention to. Don't think about those useless things. The most important thing now is to cultivate. Zishang urged. Yoga took out the outer sect disciple cultivation technique and started studying it with Zishang. The division of cultivation in a large sect was different from that of a spiritualist. According to the density of their spiritual energy, they were divided into the Qi refining stage, the foundation establishment stage, the golden core stage, the nascent soul stage, and the soul formation stage. The corresponding realms of a spiritualist were a rudimentary spiritualist, 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 and spiritualist. There were 10 stages in the Qi refinement stage, and once one reached the peak of the Qi refinement stage, one would have the opportunity to become an inner disciple. Once they entered the foundation establishment stage, they would become elite disciples. If he could form his gold core, that would be awesome. He could totally become an elder. As for nascent soul cultivators and soul formation cultivators, they were all old monsters. They rarely stayed in the faction. They would go to the spiritual city, which was a higher level, to find great opportunities. Zishang carefully examined the technique and said, "There's no problem with this technique. You can practice it." Although this outer sect technique could not compare to the core cultivation technique, the corpse bone controlling technique, it was just right for Yoga. Then I'll start practicing. Yoga took out the bottle of energy pills that Su Junqing had just rewarded her. Although this bottle of energy pills was of low grade, she didn't have any suitable energy pills on hand, so she could only make do with it. Practice it. I'll help you guard, Zishang said. Yoga swallowed an energy pill and sat cross-legged on the bed. She began to circulate and absorb the energy according to the technique. Wisps of gray energy rose from her dantian. It guided the poisonous gas from the 9 broken bones to circulate in her body. It felt like ants were crawling over her. It was an indescribable sour feeling. This was the slightest reaction from the poisonous gas. If she couldn't even endure this, she could forget about expelling the poisonous gas. Yunjoga gritted her teeth and persevered. When she finished, she was already sweating profusely and smelled sour. "How do you feel?" Zishang held a red paper doll in his hand and asked with concern. "What is this?" Yunjoga looked at the lifelike red paper doll in Zishang's hand. Its small hands and feet were still struggling. "It's just a little bug that wants to get some information." This method of using energy to control the paper doll was a kind of crafty technique. In the territory of the evil sex and demonic sex, it was not strange for someone to know this method. "Let me see." Yunjoga stretched out her hand. Zishang handed the red paper doll over. Yunjoga touched it and felt that the red paper doll was wet and cold. It was especially disgusting. She immediately stuffed it back to Zishang. "Is it the Liu sisters or that little fatty?" The two of them lived next door. They were the most likely to come to investigate. "It should be the Liu sisters," Zishang deduced based on the direction the red paper doll came from. "You really do have some skills." She knew that the Liu sisters were not as simple as they seemed. It doesn't matter if you have 8 skills. Hurry up and train your corpse control technique to the first level, then learn the puppet technique. Zishang rubbed his fingers, and the red paper doll was burned to ashes. He was prepared to personally refine the mystic skeleton monkey. However, if Yunjoga wanted to take it back for her own use, she still had to learn the puppet technique. How do you even know how to refine puppets? Yunjoga couldn't help but admire Zishang. Although this guy often pretended to be weak, it felt like nothing could stump him. Who asked this sovereign to be a 1,000-years-old teacher? Zishang smiled. The longer he lived, the more he knew. You really are addicted to being wet. Yunjoga rolled her eyes. Tonight, you will know how powerful this old teacher is. Zishang winked ambiguously. Because it was not convenient to do it in the Corp sect, they only did it once every 3 days. The process was also very fast. It was just to prevent Yunjoga's dantian from exploding. Scram! Yunjoga didn't want to tease him. She took out the corpse control bell and prepared to test the white bone thorn. The great Tao of the world was the same. Controlling the corpse control bell was similar to controlling the lightning snake illusionary whip. Yunjoga quickly infused spirit energy into the corpse control bell. Then, she shook the bell. The runes on the white bone thorn lit up and slowly rose into the sky. Go! Yunjoga pointed at the broken table. The white bone thorn turned into a stream of light and pierced through, leaving a round hole on the wooden table. Although its power was far inferior to the lightning snake illusionary whip, it was still passable. Yunjoga controlled the white bone thorn to fly up and down the house a few times. Only when the yin chi in her body was completely exhausted did she stop and continue to cultivate. After Yunjoga finished the half bottle of yin chi pills, her outer sex yin chi finally reached the first level of chi refinement. She could be considered to have successfully entered the ranks of cultivators. Under Zishang's urging, Yunjoga went to the main Peak's Technique Inheritance Pavilion to ask about the puppet technique. The main peak was bustling with people coming and going. The Technique Inheritance Pavilion was built in a very imposing manner. The stone door was 10 meters tall. It was very spacious inside, but it was not open to disciples. There was only a small window in the middle. A gray elder sat behind the window. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.